This is the series of What If Deku Had Summoning Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Inko Midoriya was a kind woman. She'd go as far as saying she's forgiving, seeing as she didn't go and gut that bastard Hisashi with her kitchen knife after finding out he left following her pregnancy. Yes, she still has some mercy in her, or at least her friends, mainly just the Bakugos because they live so close to her, by her side to prevent her from committing manslaughter. However, when the new doctor she was seeing told her that her Izuku was allegedly quirkless due to some random toe joint he had, well, Inko wasn't foolish. Quirks were a biological anomaly, and she wasn't caught up in quirk science, but the cause of them certainly wasn't toe joints. She wasn't about to take some cuckoo's theory at face value, no sir. Promptly leaving the bald doctor after harvesting his organs, a distraught Izuku and slightly angry Inko had returned to their car. "Mama, can I still be a hero if?" Izuku sniffled out, tears starting to form. That'll leave him with a stuffy nose for a good while, but the tears were warranted. If he was quirkless, could he still become strong enough to save people with a smile like All Might? What will Kaken think? He'd be okay with it, right? He really hopes this doesn't mess with their plans to be a hero duo. Oh, who's he kidding? Kaken's the best. Oh, don't listen to that man, Izuku. Clearly he has a few screws loose. We just have to figure out your quirk together, okay? Inko said. She wasn't really sure how they were going to do that, but she'd find a way. She hoped a day wouldn't come where she'd have to answer her son's heartbreaking question. Would she really be able to give the answer that Izuku would want? Would she believe that answer? She doesn't really know. Regardless, all possibilities of things going haywire out the window, her little bean of sunshine will be happy no matter what. Although she'll definitely have to have a conversation about quirklessness with her son at some point. She wouldn't want a quirkist on her hands. Hearing his mother's response, Izuku immediately brightens up, like watching the sun remerge from a lunar eclipse. Okay, Uo, I really hope I get something cool. Inko was starting to lose hope. Not because the fact that her child being quirkless was a very probable possibility, because she would love her child no matter what quirk he had. No, she was losing hope because nothing online would tell her how to figure out what her child's quirk is. Any internet forum, medical guideline website, or anything of the sort would just lead her to the same answer, which is find a quirk specialist. For your information, internet, the quirk specialist she had seen had, pardon her language, been bonkers. Toe joints. Really, according to a couple sources she found, it seems children really only discover their quirks either at random or when they have a burst of adrenaline, the most common ways, at least. Of course there were outliers, but at that point they're too uncommon, they probably wouldn't work with Izuku. And either way she wasn't exactly fond of far-out ideas like deliberately triggering a trauma-incuted quirk for Izuku. Beyond that, there was some high-tech stuff that quirk specialists used to discover a person's quirk or something like that. She didn't really understand much beyond. Not something you can buy from the general public. She really wishes when she had become a nurse she had specialized in quirks. Maybe she could have made sense of all this nonsense. What in the world was a quirk factor? Oh dear, it seems I'll have to schedule another appointment after all. Inko said, feeling utterly defeated. That incompetent doctor will rue the day for wasting her money. She'd love to help her child bring out his inner third eye or whatever he was doing. But unfortunately the night had come and, while it was a Saturday, Izuku was only a 4-year-old who shouldn't stay up late. She truly hopes Izuku doesn't turn out quirkless. She'll cherish him no matter what, but she's just not sure if her love was enough to suit the pain her son would go through if he was quirkless. Damn that Hisashi, leaving her quirkless son without a father's care. Her kitchen knife looks quite appealing right about now. Fortunately for Hisashi, the bed was also looking very appealing right now, fighting against her mama bear instincts. She went to bed right after tucking her son in bed for the evening. Well, that was the plan, before she heard a second, deeper voice inside Izuku's room. Something that definitely wasn't from his rickety, old computer. It sounded like a man. Izuku was starting to lose hope, since Mama said that he probably wasn't quirkless. He tried his hardest to bring out his quirk himself. Being a smart 4-year-old, Izuku had deduced that he probably had some sort of telekinesis like his mama, because that's how it worked. Although, he didn't know what his dad had, so maybe that was part of the problem. Considering that he had stared at his All Might plushie for around 30 minutes now, trying every trick in the book to get it to budge with his quirk, he doesn't think he has a telekinesis quirk. Well, quirks can be something completely different than their parents, but how is he supposed to test something as vast as that? The possibilities are endless. He'd know because he watches so many cartoons with so many quirks. Oh man, what if he's really quirkless? Izuku didn't want to consider it, because how would he be a super awesome hero without a cool power like Kaken? He'd find a way, obviously. But he's still bummed at the possibility. After all, Mama had a cool quirk. It would be a shame that he wouldn't get it too. Oh well, trying not to get bummed. He tried envisioning himself as an adult, with a super cool quirk just like All Might's. He'd be a cool and popular hero that'd rescue everyone from the bad guys with a smile. Super buff and strong, with lots of hero friends at his side. An action-packed life filled with heroic deeds and punching away all the wrongdoers. Oh, but don't forget to keep your morals in check. Some villains just need a home like in that one show. Izuku had an odd feeling that someone was watching him, but then again it didn't feel like the other times he sensed someone spying on him. Danger sense isn't even going off, so maybe it's a nervous fan or something like that. Only a few minutes into his patrol and he really thinks he's going insane. All that trauma from his years as a hero student must have finally resurfaced. How lovely. He signed up for it too. Taking one for all was his decision, so he can't even complain. I mean, hero work was his dream, and it is the dream right now. It's the best damn thing Izuku could have asked for in life. He just wished it didn't require the years of agony and, well, trauma. At the very least, the weather was nice, with the sun out and all. Unfortunately, he had no one to share the weather with because his new sidekicks don't come until Thursday, and all his former classmates are busy. Sad, depressing day for him. But let's put on a sunshine smile and make it through the day. We still got work to do after all, like walking around waiting for villains to arrive. It's a good thing to do, but he just feels himself getting antsy. There's plenty of stuff he can change, being the #1 hero after all. Not like he'd abuse his power or anything, but he has a ton of influence and damn it he's going to use it to improve the world. With his fists or with his words. Too lost within his self-motivation speech inside his head, Izuku had failed to realize that a portal was forming right in front of the path he was walking into. Thankfully, he stopped himself right before he stumbled into what is probably a villainous trap. Except, being the selfless, kind, dumb, and self-sacrificial idiot he is, he jumped in anyways. Gotta stop the villains on the other side of that portal, after all. Within the depths of his dreams, Izuku had failed to realize that he started glowing green sometime within his deep concentration of a hero version of himself, and accompanied with it, a large green portal had appeared just beside his bed. Falling out of it, came out a boy around his 20s, donning a green hero-looking suit, looking quite alarmed. Almost as if it was habit, he immediately readied himself into a fighting stance. Before recognizing his surroundings, surveying the area, the boy quickly realized this was his childhood bedroom. He moved out a few years ago, so he wasn't really sure why all his stuff is back in here. Was this some kind of nostalgia quirk he had ran into? How did someone get their quirk off on him without him noticing on patrol? Long distance. It was a bit astonishing seeing his old room down to the detail, although he also noticed that he had less All Might merch than he last remembered, in particular, his treasured golden age. Oh. There's a small version of himself currently eyeing him right now, looking just as alarmed as he was. Maybe this wasn't a nostalgia quirk. Hello there. The older Izuku had cautiously choked out. Immediately the younger version of him had started going haywire, spouting out questions and mutterings, such as, "Are you me? Did I summon you? Or were you from my dream?" It was a quite endearing habit, akin to his own mutterings, although his was probably more annoying than this cute little bugger's. He can probably eliminate the possibility of this being a villain facade, just from how specific everything was to no one knowing his 4-year-old tendency. But just to be safe, maybe he'll just brace himself ... or wait, was his little self still going? Slow down. I need some time to process what's happening right now. Sorry, the younger Izuku stuttered. I didn't mean to shoot you down, Never mind. Chin up, buddy. Children were a weak spot of Izuku's, and as such his guard was let down as soon as it was set up. Guess the caution was for nothing. Are you me? The young Izuku chirped out, with much more clarity this time. Seems like it. Little me, do you know what's going on? The pro hero asked nervously. He certainly didn't know what was happening. How is he here, and what even is here? He hopes to all might that he isn't in some weird alternate dimension. A villain attack would be a much easier to deal with situation. Goodness, how was he supposed to get back home? All his friends, All Might, his mom, he wasn't going to lose them all, was he? He can feel a panic attack coming on. No, I think maybe I got you with my quirk. But I don't know what my quirk is. The younger Izuku's voice had given clarity to the older. Gathering himself, he tried to center his focus into what was happening in the moment. However, once older Izuku processed the other's words, another layer of emotion had set on him. Mostly confusion. Were there versions of him with quirks from the get-go? Not that he was jealous or anything. You don't know what your quirk is? Izuku wondered how that was possible considering most people find their quirks or are diagnosed as quirkless by 4. Well, the doctor said I was quirkless, but Mama said he was wrong, so I've been trying to find out what my quirk is the whole day. The young Izuku exclaimed. Mom said the doctor was wrong. Why? In his timeline, his mom accepted the fact wholeheartedly. Maybe she was just taking it differently in this world. No, wait, that still doesn't explain why he's here. Little him had to have a quirk. A theory was starting to form within the pro-hero's mind, one that had horrid implications of the power this little him could have, but a theory nonetheless. Can you tell me what happened before I got here? Oh, I was dreaming of how cool of a hero I would be if I got a quirk like All Might's. And then I felt all tingly and weird. Then this cool glow was around me, then you were here. Alright, that was ... not much to go off of admittedly. Was that how he sounded every time he went off on a muttering tangent? Still, it pointed to his theory some more. Young him concentrated on an All Might version of himself, and then all of a sudden he was here. Did his small counterpart have a weird summoning quirk that somehow transcends timelines and universes? Maybe he was overthinking things. Yes, that must be it. He was simply devolving into a muttering, analytical fit, and he would definitely stop this nonsense before it turned into a Todoroki theory. But what if? The possibilities of quirks were literally limitless. Quirk mutations diverged from family trees all the time, and quirks were getting scarily powerful nowadays. But what would even trigger the summon in the first place? Why was he drawn specifically? Because little him thought about a version of him that just happened to be exactly like himself. If thinking was the trigger, surely he's thought of Mom hard enough to warrant a summon, right? Or even more glaringly obvious, All Might. Older Izuku had his doubts. He and little him would have to run some tests together. Although looking at his All Might-themed clock, the time was late, and he didn't want to keep a young child from their needed nap time. Unfortunately for the hero with a lack of situational awareness when there was no immediate threat, the time was indeed late. So late, in fact, that his mother had come to tuck his newfound baby bro in. Shit. As he went quiet, he was met with the sounds of footsteps walking away from the door, and he breathed a huge sigh of relief. Guess she wasn't doing it today. That is, until he heard the sound of clinking wood and metal, followed by footsteps back, followed by the bedroom door slowly creaking open, revealing his mother holding a kitchen pan with a frightened expression on her face. Izuku, Inko had defensively said, holding out a frying pan for the worst-case scenario. Well, shit. Yes, this warranted a curse which Izuku honestly didn't use that often because his temper was unrivaled, and he was a family-friendly cinnamon roll, according to his friends in the media. He doesn't exactly agree, but to each their own, he supposes. Hi Mom. The older Izuku said at a volume so low she could barely hear. He felt so small and tiny right now. Number 1 hero ain't anything on Mom's wrath. T2 Izukus. Wait, grown-up Izuku. My word, I must be getting old, but I didn't think people started hallucinating this early. Inko was getting worried about her age, despite being in her healthy 30s. No wait, this isn't a hallucination, Mom. Older Izuku took a slight pause, fiddling with his hands, before spouting out his inner thoughts. Or wait, can I even call you Mom? Igas technically warrant actual minimums in suere from different universes, but slow down Izuku. Inko cut him off. Was this really a grown-up Izuku? He sure had the mumbling habits down. I couldn't understand a word you just said. Wait, did you just say I'm not hallucinating? Well, about that, He really wasn't sure how to go about this mess of a first impression. Blunt, maybe. I have some good news for you. Your son manifested his quirk. Izuku emphasized with some jazz hands. Some news which I don't know how you'll take. It's some sort of summoning quirk, and it kinda sorta maybe transcends universes, and he just so happened to take me into his world. Haha. A cold sweat seemed to run down his face, and Mom seemed to just stare at him like he just made the world's worst joke. Okay, maybe Blunt wasn't smart. Yeah, Mom. Isn't it so cool? I can't wait to show Kaken my grown-up hero self. He'll be super-duper jealous. Little Izuku said, oblivious to the inner turmoil his mom was in. You okay, Mom? Older Izuku asked, worryingly. I just, need a moment. That was an understatement. This was perhaps the biggest headache she's felt so far, and that's saying something when she's dealt with the chaos ball that is Izuku. And now, there is 2 of them. At least the older one seems quite nice, although that doesn't calm her crazed nerves. Is she sure this isn't some crazy shapeshifting intruder? She guesses she'll take his word. If anything, because her Izuku seems to be in pure euphoria right now, meaning whatever the older one had just said was probably right. But that begs the question, just what in the world kind of quirk does her Izuku have anyways? Universe-crossing summoning. That definitely, absolutely, 100% most certainly wasn't in her family tree, and probably wasn't in Hisashi's. So a quirk mutation. How do those work again? Once again, Inko relents at the fact that she never paid attention to the quirk specifics in medical school. In her defense, everyone had said it was useless unless you were becoming a specialist. At the time, it was a good idea to take a stress break. Well, unfortunately, there's no flunking class equivalent for the situation she's in now. Actually, maybe there is. Why don't we all go to sleep and figure out what's happening in the morning, HM? Genius. Katsuden's still your favorite even when you're all grown up. Ever tried anything else? Inko teased. Embarrassed, older Izuku only replied with a Mom, which promptly caused Inko to softly chuckle. Oh, you know I'm only kidding. It's just so easy to tell that you're my Izuku all grown up now. Goodness, I must be getting old. My kid's already 22. The sun had risen, and the 2 adults who were suffering mental turmoil the night before had reached a calm balance. Breakfast solves all problems. After some more chatter between Inko and the hero Izuku, this world's Izuku comes in with I smell katsuden, the brightest smile painted on his face. Both Izukus finish up their katsuden, and after a couple of head ruffles the older gave the younger. The younger Izuku said, "Mom, didn't you say I could play with Kaken today?" "Oh dear, I wonder if that can still happen with our guest, Izuku," Inko worryingly said, eyes glancing between her child and her phone, contemplating canceling the visit to the Bakugos. "Don't worry, he can just come with us. Right, other me?" "Yeah, I don't mind. We can test out your quirk with Kaken." Izuku wasn't in the biggest rush to get home. There's still people to save here, after all. Besides, he gets to see Kid Kaken. He really hopes he can find a way back eventually though. Hopefully it's a two-way kind of thing. Then he can come back and visit whenever he wants. Maybe he could help out his counterpart, seeing as he wants to be a hero too. "Oh, but one thing before we leave," the older Izuku said, to the confused expressions of Inko and smaller Izuku. "Since it'll probably be confusing for everyone, just call me Ninth, okay?" Why Ninth?" Inko had voiced the thoughts of both her and her child's. It's a secret." Inko knocked on the door to the Bakugo residency, to which Mitsuki promptly busted the door open, with an exasperated Masaru right behind her. "Honey, we just got that door replaced last week. Oh, the hinges look fine. Good to see you, Inko. It's been so damn long since I've seen you and your little Izuku. Sorry this couldn't happen sooner. Katsuki. The little effer has been keeping me busy. Love him to death, of course, but shit, I might start sprouting gray hairs already. Haha, tell me about it. Izuku is so sweet, but he's still a handful to work with, especially considering what happened yesterday. Really, who knew sweet little Izuku could be a troublemaker? Actually, speaking of him, where is he? Oh, he's not causing trouble on purpose, I can assure you. As for where he is, he should be getting out of the car soon, but you should, how do I put this, prepare yourself." At this exact moment, Ninth had finally managed to get Izuku out of his car seat and were walking towards Inko, for the Bakugos to see him in all his very much not a 4-year-old glory. "Haha, prepare myself for what? Holy shit." Mitsuki stood, dumbfounded. I don't mean to alarm you, Inko, but you seem to have two Izukus, and also, one of them is an adult. That or your ex-husband is back." Masaru, not sure what to say, decided to ground himself in the situation by saying exactly what he saw. "It wasn't working." "Yes, I know. Your reactions are honestly priceless, which is why I didn't tell you this over the phone. Why don't we go inside so I can explain?" Inko was holding in a laugh. "Hey, Auntie Mitsuki, Uncle Masaru." Ninth waved. "Wow, that's really something, ain't it?" Mitsuki had just finished listening to Inko explain Izuku's quirk awakening, while still dumbfounded at Ninth's existence. Ninth decided to join in the conversation as he didn't go upstairs to join his small counterpart in Kaken. "It surprised me too, honestly. Obviously in a different way, but thinking about it, it's definitely out of left field. I mean, in my universe, I was born quirkle, with a strength enhancement quirk. I guess quirk mutations are just weird like that? It's just so effing crazy. You're all grown up and everything, you say you're a pro hero. How are you and Katsuki getting along, eh?" We've been getting along well. We kinda fell out during middle school, but we reunited at UA. Falling out was a bit of an understatement, but it wasn't a complete lie, was it? "Oh wow, UA. Izuku, your auntie's so proud of you." Mitsuki proceeded to ruffle Ninth's hair, accidentally putting him in a headlock to make the ruffles easier. "Come on now, dear, you're going to exhaust him at this rate." Masaru chided. "Sure, like you don't want to ruffle his hair too." "Wrong, right." Masaru ruffled Ninth's hair as well. "Kaken, guess what? Izuku excitedly hopped across the blonde's room. "What is it, Deku?" Katsuki said, endearing nickname to boat. "I finally found out what my quirk is. Really, I bet it was something lame cause you're such a crybaby. But I'm cool for the both of us, so it's okay." Katsuki was totally prepared for Izuku to have a cool, but weak quirk like Auntie Inko. The teachers told him that's how quirks work. "No, it's cool, I promise. There's a small problem though. I don't know what it actually does." Izuku started fidgeting, playing with All Might figurines while Kaken joins him. What do you mean, dumbass?" Kaken's Golden Age All Might beat Izuku's Silver Age All Might in a figure battle. Izuku is distraught. "I don't know what it does exactly. I mean, I recorded it in my analysis notebook, but I summoned a different version of me. He's all cool and an adult. And he has a quirk like All Might's." "Funny joke, Deku. Katsuki wasn't going to fall for a trick like that. He's downstairs with Mom, Auntie and Uncle right now." "Yeah, sure, okay. Why don't we go down right now and say hi then?" "Okay." Katsuki was starry-eyed. Izuku's older self was super cool. He really did have a quirk like All Might's, although he couldn't show it off very well, something about stupid quirk usage laws. But still, he at least showed his super strength a little, jumping up to the roof of the house in one jump. He had that aura, the confidence and humbleness of All Might, the smile that saves the day, the all-round coolness factor. Deku's quirk was super cool, but he'd never admit that to his face. Well, maybe one day. In the meantime though, it's fanboying time. Can I have your autograph? Katsuki nervously asked 9. Well, of course, but only if you promise to me that you'll be nice to Izuku, okay? 9 knows this Izuku won't have to face quirkless discrimination like he did, but he can't help but worry over him. Oh dear, he's becoming just like his mom. Sooner or later he's going to start crying when little him grows up. It starts his first day at UA. I'll protect him with my life, Katsuki said, dead face serious. Ha ha ha, okay Kakin, where do I sign? Oh, I don't know. 9th ends up signing a Spare All Might themed t-shirt. Kakin. He tried to sign something less valuable, maybe on like a piece of paper or something, but Kakin had insisted. So, Sharpie in hand provided by a very amused Mitsuki and Masaru, 9th wrote, you can be a hero, plus ultra. Deku, oh, I almost forgot. Since you got an autograph of me, can I get a photo with you, Kakin? Izuku's told me so much about you, you're so cool. All Might Izuku called me cool. Smile for the camera, Kakin. Katsuki managed to look decent for the photo 9th had snagged of himself and him, although the hero worship was clear in his eyes. Adorable. He can't wait to show it to his Kakin and the rest of his former classmates when he gets back to his world. Glancing at 9th's signature, which was now laying on the kitchen counter, Inko questioned, is Deku your hero name? Why didn't you tell us to call you that instead? 9th didn't realize he put his actual hero name on there. Well, might as well tell the truth, right? I wanted to leave the name open to any Izukus that our Izuku potentially summons in the future. The name has some emotional attachments to me, so I'd imagine it'd be the same for others. It's just a mean nickname right now, but it gets pretty endearing in the future. Besides, 9th means a lot to me too. He decided to leave out that it definitely wasn't endearing for most of his life and that the emotional attachment was mostly trauma. But hey, there were nice moments. Speaking of Izuku summoning other Izukus like yourself, how do you intend to return to your home? You're always welcome here, but I can't help but worry. Inko didn't want her older son to never see his friends again, to never see his real mom again. Honestly, I've been avoiding letting the fact that I'm in a different universe sink in. I really hope little me's quirk can somehow do the job for me. We do have some testing with his quirk to do, after all. 9th wasn't exactly fond of the idea that he could never return to his home. But he'd rather not think about it right now. Preserve sanity, and stuff like that, or whatever his therapist told him. You can use my room to test Deku's quirk out, Katsuki helpfully added. He was ecstatic to help out 9th in any way he could. He's not All Might, but dang, does he get pretty close. Izuku, on the other hand, was very worried he had made an oopsie. Had he taken away 9th from his home forever? Will he never get to see his mama again? Izuku hates the thought that he did that to him. He must find a way to bring him home, even if he'll miss him. So, Izuku. And wow, it still feels weird to call him his own name. How did you summon me yesterday? I dunno. I was thinking of a hero version of myself, and you appeared. Well, that's the same answer from yesterday. And it's definitely still not enough to go off of. Well, first theory on the chopping block. Maybe it's a two-way activation? Can you try thinking the same things you thought yesterday? Okay, I'll try my best. Izuku thought really hard about his hero version self. 9th. He thought about his cool quirk. And that he went to UA, he punches mean villains down, and gives everyone a sunshine smile like All Might. He has cool merch lines like plushies, posters, cartoons, figures. Oh hey, there's a portal in front of him. That looks like where I was when the portal popped up in front of me. Hey wait, everything's frozen on the other side. 9th looked closer and noticed that it was also the same time of day when he had haphazardly jumped into the portal. Izuku's quirk stops time when he brings someone in. What unholy deity decided to load impossible powers onto a different version of himself? At least his first theory was on the nose. Analytical work at its finest. Does this mean you have to leave now, 9th? Izuku looked teary-eyed, which means that if he didn't do something soon, 9th would also be bursting into tears. No. Don't worry, don't cry. It's okay, I'll just step back until the portal closes, and then you have to try your hardest to summon me back, okay? Okay. Stepping into the portal. 9th watched as everything that was currently paused go right back into motion, as if nothing had happened. The bird's nest on a tree had started chirping sounds again, strangers on their daily walk had resumed walking, and the clouds had started drifting away again. The portal had already closed behind him, and he really hopes Izuku can reopen it, because this would really be awkward if he just had to go on with his patrol and pretend it never happened. 9th, Izuku exclaimed. Hey, you did it, buddy. Thank goodness he didn't have to live with the thought of him abandoning a child version of himself forever. Stepping back into the portal, he couldn't help but watch as everything else in view had immediately stopped back to a halt. Katsuki was sitting in the corner, watching the whole chaos unfold. That portal Izuku made was super cool. He wonders if he could. Whoa there, Kakin. Let's not get you lost in another universe, okay? 9 stopped Katsuki from diving headfirst into the portal. But be a good boy, Kaken. If you misbehave, I won't show you my quirk in action. Katsuki immediately silenced himself. He wouldn't dare strip himself of the opportunity to see Izuku's cool other self to fight villains. Well, back to quirk theory. Now that he knows that Izuku can send people back home, he can try out something else, which is summoning other versions of himself. How specific does he have to be to open up a portal? Okay, Izuku, I want you to think about yourself. Be very vague. Think about different versions of yourself, but don't think too hard about it. Great instructions, ninth. Very helpful. Weirdly enough though, Izuku managed to understand completely, and with an okay. His mind rapidly started to fill up with many different thoughts. Different versions of himself popped up in his head, without Izuku thinking of them himself. In a split second, he saw a villain, and in another second, he saw an idol. He saw a hero. He saw himself sad, and he saw himself content. He imagined himself living lives like those, in a scenario he couldn't see. It was like rolling a dice. Izuku had no idea what was going to come out, yet it felt natural. The idea of identifying something that isn't actually tangible just came. Like breathing. Is this how quirks feel like when you discover them? Just like that, a portal appeared. In front of Izuku was a portal. How puzzling. His first thought was, how did Kurogiri find me? However, he quickly pushed those thoughts away. Him and his dad, the bastard, couldn't have known where he was. All Might himself saved him and even took him in, praise Kami. But his fear of him still remained. He was the man who had intel and connections across the entire world. The man who escaped Tartarus like it was nothing with a smile on his face. The man who manipulated his own son. Then again, it's easy to manipulate someone when you've been the only contact they've had for most of their life, right? He had been at his father's beck and call since day one. He was locked inside a bank vault with all necessities but no care, and his father had shown him his only source of the warm feeling that was love. That was family. Even now, away from the man who held him in his palm for years and years, he still has to remind himself that he was stranded by that man. He can't forget that. He didn't care for him. He won't allow himself to fall back into his father's comforting smiles. He fears his father, the infamous villain All for One, taking him back. The fear of him embracing his father's manipulative love. The fear of becoming a villain again. The fear of enjoying it because his father groomed him into that mindset, and could very easily groom him back into it again. He can still hear his father talking on his head sometimes, speaking his propaganda into his ear. The ends justify the means, Izuku. The heroes will toss you away when they realize who you are. The heroes don't deserve your mercy. Make them suffer, my son. Of course, reasonably knew they couldn't have found him. One reason being, this wasn't how Kurogiri's portals looked like, even if it initially triggered his fight or flight, and a glaringly obvious trauma response if the past second were to be analyzed. On the other side he could see things, which was already different from Kurogiri's opaque purple portals. He could see himself. No wait, a younger version of himself and himself. Did he have two secret brothers father never told him about? Not to mention the little blonde child in the corner, who Izuku couldn't recognize. Hello there. The older him decided to speak. Hello. Who are you? The third Izuku composed himself, talking quietly. He was staying inside Todoroki's apartment complex at the moment, and he didn't want to be a bother. My name's also Izuku, like you I presume. We're the same person. Well, sorta. You should step inside so I can explain. Time pauses when you come in, so don't worry about leaving anyone behind. You'll be able to come back. Ninth said, no, truly, it's okay. Please, explain from here. Okay, if you're more comfortable there. It's a bit complicated, but basically, Izuku was holding back the urge to steal the little him's quirk. Some sort of genetic thing made him inherit his father's tendency to take whatever he wants, and it's been a tough road to reject that part of himself. He's been doing so well, but that quirk is so tempting. Arg, he can stop himself. He will. Everything the older him had told him had checked out, and so he was sticking around to dote on his child self. He was adorable, and he will protect him from his useless sperm donor no matter what it takes. Now that I think about it, I don't actually know much about you, other me. Mind filling us in on who you are? I guess. Well, my father is an infamous villain named All for One and my full name is Izuku Shigaraki. I was a villain for quite some time. I'm sorry, wait, Ninth is at a loss for words. Please don't trouble yourself. I didn't have much choice in the matter. Being the son of All for One, naturally he nurtured me into the position. I'm no longer a villain. No, but why is All for One your dad? My dad was just some dad. Ninth glanced at the little Izuku in the room. Definitely wasn't All for One. I suppose that's just a difference between our worlds, then. Do you have a different mom too? Ninth questioned. I never met my mother. My father was always reminiscing about her though. He said she was an angel. Ninth immediately made a note to introduce this new Izuku to mom, or at least this universe's mom. He couldn't imagine a world without his mom to be there for him and her amazing Katsuden. Hey, new big me. Why do you talk all fancy? The smaller Izuku decided to speak up in the conversation. The new Izuku grimaced. It looks like while I wasn't the biggest fan of my father, I seem to have picked up a couple of unfortunate eccentricities, let's say. The third Izuku said. What do you mean by that? Ninth questioned. I picked up his 21st century mafia boss way of speech. Oh, and I also have all for one, the quirk. Wait, what? Ninth immediately shot up in panic. Well, of course, that's simply quirk genetics. Please, calm yourself. I haven't stolen a quirk since I've turned a new leaf, and most of my quirks were cursed gifts from father anyhow. You wouldn't be discriminating against a villainous quirk, would you? AFO Izuku feigned offense. He wouldn't call it manipulation like his father, it was simply persuasion. Harmless persuasion, even. And no, of course not. Ninth continued, but quieter so only the new Izuku could hear. With the history of my quirk and yours, I'm just being a little cautious is all. I'm sorry. So you're a one for all holder. That explains the alias then. If I remember correctly, All Might was the 8th in my universe as well. I completely understand your caution, but I can assure you, I'm a good person. I can even lend you a lie detector quirk if you still don't believe. It's quite alright, really. I'm a good judge of character, so I'll have you figured out in no time. In the meantime though, what do you want to call yourself while staying in this world? It's all confusing with the different Izuku names floating about. The other Izuku thought carefully, trying to determine what kind of name he would want to be called. Just call me All for One. I know it's a bit on the nose, but I wish to reclaim the name, in a sense, turn it into something better. I'll make Ninth a hopless romantic. In an attempt to get to know AFO better, Ninth tried to strike up conversation with the first topic he could think of, which just so happened to be romance. Great. Got anyone you fancy, AFO? Ninth and AFO had made an agreement to say the abbreviation to All for One as opposed to saying it outright, due to the fact that the actual All for One most definitely exists in this world and his followers were everywhere. Best to save themselves the chance of suspicion. Anyone you want to do the kisses with? Not really. I haven't had much social interaction until the most recent years of my life, let alone a partner. Well, that was just sad. He reminded him of Todoroki, in some ways, with their mysterious ways of speech and bad fathers. How about you, Ninth? I haven't had anyone either, sadly. My secretary calls me a hopeless romantic, which checks out, although at least I have my friends. On Valentine's, they all gave me chocolates. No one gave him special chocolates though. Everyone gave him homemade chocolates, and the whole tradition is to give everyone homemade chocolates on Valentine's and give store-bought ones to the one you like. Wait, was that right? He could have sworn. Really? That sounds nice. Focus back on the conversation. Ninth. Throughout the day they all gave me chocolates. It was so nice of them. It went like this. Oi, shit nerd. I got you something. Pro Hero Dynamite walked into Deku's office with a box of spicy chocolates. You don't think it was for you or something effing weird? I just got it from myself is all and got an extra. Katsuki's face betrayed him, blushing a deep red as if this was the hardest thing in the world. Oh thanks Kaken. Don't worry, I won't get ideas. You're a good friend. Why yeah. And stop being sappy, idiot. Katsuki couldn't help but wish he could talk to Deku in any form besides being in a hole. He stared at Izuku for what felt like hours, before he pinched the nerd's cheeks and walked away. Oh, Kaken. Heh, cute. No, wait, marry me, Izuku. Aw Shoto, you're so sweet. A chocolate ring, that's such a cute way to give it to someone. Hee, do I say I do now. It took a week before Shoto realized Izuku had only been joking. He was distraught. Fayumi had to comfort him for a while, also explaining to him that people don't propose with chocolate rings. I know that, Fayumi, but can't I pretend for a little? Fayumi simply patted her brother on the back. A bit tired of the same song and dance Shoto went through every time his friend didn't get the hint. This has been going on for how many years now? Hey, Deku-kun, Achako said, walking into his agency during the last hour of Valentine's Day. Hey Achako, I got you some ... WOAH. Achako stared up at the looming tower of chocolate Valentine's boxes. Did you get me chocolates as well? It seems like everyone has gotten me some today. Even some former students from Ketsubutsu and Shaiksu. You know, I think a bug is going around or something because everyone was super red-faced and quiet when they gave me their gifts ... Oh dear. Achako, I think you have the bug too. Are you okay? Achako would beat everyone else to the punch next time. She swears on her wallet's grave. Ninth let out a large sigh. I just wish I had someone to actually love on Valentine's ... But at least I have friends, right? If only one of his friends would come up to him and ask him out or something, like that friends to lovers trope he read in a romance novel he borrowed from Kaken. He'll take anyone. Please. I don't think, actually, never mind. AFO hadn't had much social interaction before, but even he could tell that everyone was down bad for Ninth in his world. Just how charming was he? Does he realize what he's doing? What is it? Ninth obliviously questioned, with an endearing head tilt. Ah, he saw it. Ninth was adorably pure. He's a bit jealous if he's being honest. Oh, nothing. Just that maybe you should consider buying everyone else chocolates next Valentine's. That's a great idea. AFO won't ever get to see it, but he'll cherish the day Ninth tells him how it goes. He can just imagine all of their red, sputtering faces. It's okay to be a bit sadistic when it's playful like this, right? Meeting Inko was a surreal experience for FO. The woman who was apparently his mother that he never met, the woman whom apparently had his father at her beck and call, was also the woman who was currently cooking him katsudon in a nice, homey-looking apartment. He was honestly expecting a more villainous character, but this was a welcome surprise. Unless it was some kind of front ... Well, if Ninth trusts her, he will too. Getting on Ninth's bad side would be a horrible idea, considering he's still a little suspicious of him despite his best efforts. Izuku had set off for school this morning, and Ninth had tagged along because Izuku wanted to use him as a demonstration of his quirk. Also, Ninth wanted to make sure no one was picking on Izuku, since his quirk came a bit late and kids have delusions and jump to conclusions, according to the kid-friendly hero who definitely shouldn't be talking about children like that. Although, he does have a point. It was one of multiple reasons he didn't accompany Izuku as well. He definitely couldn't show off his quirk like Ninth. He didn't want to come off as creepy or intimidating. And lastly, he didn't want to deal with 24-year-olds in the first place. He couldn't handle that much talking. And he wasn't great with kids like Ninth was anyways. He could barely handle Izuku. Thank you, Ms. Inko, AFO said as Inko finished up cooking and handed him a bowl of katsudon. Oh, please just call me Mom. Izuku, it feels so weird to hear my name come out of you. Even if you aren't technically my son, I'll cherish you all the same. Inko beamed and wow, AFO could easily see where Ninth had gotten his trademark sunshine boy personality from. Thank you, Mother, Inko hummed, and then chuckled. Well, it's improvement. Inko, having gone to her shift as a part-time nurse, had told AFO to go on a grocery run while she was out. Easy enough, especially since she worried over him going out alone so much and even wrote directions on where everything was in the store so he wouldn't get lost. He thinks she forgets he's not a child like her actual son. Regardless, this gives him a chance to get out of the apartment and explore a whole alternate universe. Right before he set out, he felt his phone buzz in his pocket, which didn't exactly make sense because he was in an alternate universe and the people in his universe are frozen right now, until he remembered that he exchanged numbers with Ninth yesterday. 9th 2 p.m. Hey Oncey, me and Izuku are having a ton of fun right now, you should totally come with us next time. AFO 2:01 p.m. Thank you for the offer, but I have to decline. Also, did you just call me Oncey? 9th 2:04 p.m. Yes, I thought it would be cute and AFO is still a big mouthful, see. AFO 2:05 p.m. I have no idea what to do with you. 9th 2:08 p.m. It's okay Oncey, you'll love it eventually. Lesser than 33. AFO stood with an amused grin on his phone as he was walking down to the grocery store, which should be just a few blocks away. Ninth could make friends with everyone, couldn't he? If only he had the charm he had, maybe he could make friends more easily with Class 3A. They're all so friendly, barring maybe Bakugos, but he just ... can't talk to them. Social anxiety or guilt for being part of the organization that terrorized them, he can't really tell. It might be both, but it's probably mostly the second one. He needs that heroic courage, or whatever All Might talks about, to mingle with them at all. Ah, he reached the grocery store. This shouldn't take long. Stepping out of the grocery store after an hour, AFO was relishing in the fact that he just went grocery shopping. He's such a responsible adult, if you disregard the 2 bags filled with hero merch alongside the normal grocery. It's a good thing he had his own money, because spending Inko's grocery money on his newfound impulse spending habits wouldn't exactly be favorable. Help. Anyone, please. Goodness, what is happening over there? AFO decided to check out what was happening. He was running. A bit reckless to run in without a plan, but that was his instincts for you. Ninth called it heroic. He called it a lack of self-preservation. Quiet down and hand over all your shit. AFO concluded that the sound was coming from a discreet alleyway. So, rushing up and hiding behind a wall, he assessed the situation in front of him. There was a burly man cornering a wealthy-looking young lady, who was clutching a purse in her hands, striking in the middle of daylight. This one wasn't too bright, was he? Neither of them seemed to have quirks he can determine by sight, so he'll have to proceed with caution. He debated about stepping back and just alerting a hero, but the situation is just a bit too dire right now. Oh dear, the man just pulled out a gun out of what seems like himself. A storage quirk, then. How useful. Why, striking in the middle of busy hour. How bold. AFO casually revealed himself. The buff-looking man turned around looking alarmed, before bursting out in laughter. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it, scrawny dumbass? No heroes check this shithole anyways. The man then stored back his gun and drew out a knife after reaching into a glow in his chest. "I'll make your life hell for interrupting me," the man said, a creepy grin on his face. Well, that would shake up anyone normally. Being slowly murdered by a dull knife wasn't great, but AFO had witnessed his father commit plenty of atrocities, so he wasn't shaken at all. That creepy grin doesn't compare to his father's either. He had regeneration quirks on hand anyways. Who cares about some knife? Ah, what a useful quirk. So many useful quirks are wasted on such idiotic individuals. AFO taunted the man. It's a good thing he has his father's sadistic tendencies to draw from. The large man was boiling with anger. This little shit should be shaking in his boots right now. Time to put him in his place. The man drew back his fist holding the knife and tried to hit AFO. Keyword, tried, because AFO simply caught his fist and promptly stole his quirk. Shit, you're gonna effing die. The man, having realized he cannot best him physically, tried to pull his gun back out, only to realize that he couldn't. What the F? What the hell did you do? He said, a look of panic overtaking his face. Or maybe his angry face just looked like that. AFO didn't really know. Well, I took your quirk. It would be such a waste for someone like you to have it, after all. The man lunged at FO again, faster and quicker, probably losing himself in the heat of anger. However, even the man pushing past his limits was no match for the boy who's witnessed the underground villain hierarchy. One duck under the punch, and a counter punch which for legal reasons was definitely not boosted with a couple strength quirks, and the man was out cold. Oops, that's a bit more damage than he intended to do. At least the alleyway wasn't damaged too much. You should report this to the police, ma'am. I will bring this man to the nearest police station. The wealthy woman stood there, breaking out of her petrified trance, before responding with an okay. Too caught up in the moment, she never asked for the name of her rescuer. As much as AFO would have loved to keep the quirk he stole, it's still kind of against his ethics to keep it. He only really took it to intimidate him, and maybe he felt a little joy taking it away from him. But, against his better judgment, he returned the quirk back to the petty robber before dropping the unconscious man at a random police station. Thankfully, AFO didn't forget the groceries he left on the ground when he went to haphazardly rescue someone. Or else that would have been a very awkward conversation with Inko. While finally walking back to the apartment, he pulled out his phone. 3:15 p.m. That whole scuttle was only a mere 5 minutes. How laughable. What wasn't laughable, however, was the gravity of the situation finally setting in on AFO. Not knowing what to do, he decided to call Ninth and hope he doesn't get angry. Ninth. What's up, Onesie? You're really pushing this nickname, aren't you? AFO let out a big sigh at that. Well, back to the main issue. I seem to have accidentally broken the law. AFO could almost hear Ninth straighten up and change his demeanor. You did what now? I thought you said you weren't a villain anymore. No, it wasn't a villainous act. I just, seemed to accidentally have partaken in vigilantism. Oh, okay, cool. Stay safe on your way home. You seem very nonchalant about this. No, it's fine. You know, I had my own vigilante days back in the olden times. Get that heroism out, Onesie. Are you sure you're the #1 hero in your universe? Yeah, why? I don't know, I just assumed someone in that position would be more of a stickler for the laws. Well, anything to save people, right? I suppose. You don't sound convinced. But, not to worry. I have a new friend that'll sway you in the right direction. What's that supposed to mean? You'll find out. AFO definitely didn't like the sound of that. He could already feel a burning headache coming on. But, if he maybe felt some joy saving someone, even if it did technically break vigilantism laws due to quirk usage, and he was maybe looking forward to listening to Ninth talk about vigilantism when he gets back, well, that's for no one to know but himself, isn't it? To say Toshinori was in a state of panic right now was a bit of an understatement. He was currently pacing around Tsukachi's office, trying not to melt into a puddle right then and there. Goodness, the stress feels like it was getting to his injury. Toshi, calm down. It couldn't possibly be all for one. You finished him off years ago. You don't know that, Naomasa. What else could it possibly be? The woman said he took the man's quirk, and your quirk confirmed it. What if I never really finished him off? What if he's still running rampant? Toshinori promptly coughed up blood from the thought. Look, quirks that deal with other quirks are very common. Anyways, the woman described the vigilante as a green-haired, freckled young adult, which is absolutely not what your arch-nemesis looks like. And that's the thing, they were a vigilante. Why would All for One randomly save a woman in an alleyway? A background check on her showed she wasn't in anything shady. Wiping away the blood with some tissues he kept on hand, Toshinori managed to calm himself down. I suppose you're right. Just the thought of that man brings me into overdrive. But still, a vigilante with a quirk that can steal others. Did All for One have children? Toshinori burst into a fit of laughter. What a joke that would be. Who would love a cruel and insane man such as his arch-nemesis? We don't know for sure if that was what the quirk actually was, unfortunately. It could be similar to Eraserhead's quirk, where it's just a cancellation, or it could very well be a quirk like All for Ones. We'll have to keep a very diligent eye on this vigilante. Toshinori nodded before heading out the police station. He truly hopes this doesn't become any more serious of a situation than it already has been. Oh dear, I'm not sure I can serve 4 Izukus. Inko was a bit worried of her pantry getting sucked dry if Izuku kept summoning more versions of himself. Not that she minds them though, they're all so nice. It's a good thing the very polite Izuku came back with the groceries. She can get started on cooking. It's okay, Mom. We all should probably head back to our universes today anyways. Ninth said, Oh, nonsense. Let me cook you all something to eat before you go home. Inko had already started heating up the stove, to which Ninth had responded by inserting himself into the kitchen with her. Oh, you're leaving. But it's only been a day, Izuku said with a crack in his voice. Don't worry, little me. Just call for us whenever you need us, okay? We'll be right here for you. Ninth comforted. My apologies, Mother, but did you just say 4 Izukus? AFO asked, now sitting on the living area couch, finally arriving back from his eventful grocery run. Hey, that was my surprise. He's in the bathroom right now, but Izuku summoned another us at school. It was pretty fun when it happened. In the middle of Izuku tinkering with some support gear he was going to use for his vigilante store for a hero student to use, a portal had opened up besides him. 2 observed on working. He didn't actually notice until he heard a shout from the other side. Not to mention the support course laboratory he was using is soundproof. Too soundproof in fact to the point where sounds are muffled even inside the lab. Power Loader described it as perfect for your rambunctiousness, which leads him to believe he gave Hatsum a similar lab as well. Hey Dai, said an older-looking version of him, in a hero costume. Wait, there was a child version of him too. Double wait, are they in his old preschool? So, I know you must be pretty petrified right now and all confused, but long story short, quirk that transcends time, space, and universes. I'm from a different timeline and I'm a hero. Step in and let's mess around in another universe. What? Okay, so, I missed most of that, but messing around in another universe. Does that include making support gear for other universes? Yeah, of course. What an exciting opportunity. Underneath his breath, Izuku entered a mumbling ramble, one of his mumbles being wonder if I could be a vigilante in another universe too. And being the professional pro hero that he is, Ninth had heard. Did you say vigilante? Ninth had sparkles in his eyes, like he just struck gold. And no, what are you waiting for? Hop in, we got lawbreaking and crime fighting to do. Well, I mean, okay. AFO could feel the impending headache. No wait, it was already here. Goodness, do I even want to ask? He paused, hearing the water flow from the bathroom sink stop. And then hearing the bathroom door open right after. Then came footsteps down the small apartment hallway. And there comes another version of himself. Unlike him in Ninth, he didn't look to be an adult but rather a teen boy. And judging from his well-known, not so well-worn UA uniform, he is only in high school. Okay, Ninth. While in the bathroom I came up with the support gear idea for you. Oh, hey vigilante buddy. How lovely. Ninth had already informed the newcomer of his transgression against the law. Inko, sensing Ninth wanted to join the two in full, said she could take over the kitchen now and shoot him out, to the dismay of said hero. Sue Onesie, meet support. Ninth's eyes were practically separating from each other, with how fast they were zooming between the 2 Izukus to gauge the first impressions. Please don't introduce me as Onesie, Ninth. He could handle Ninth calling him Onesie, but he can absolutely see how it can spiral out of control. Don't worry, AFO's the name. Yeah, weird abbreviation, but it's cool, support said. Ninth didn't tell him what it meant. What a kind gesture, although he's not really sure why he's surprised. Yes, thank you. Pardon me if this assumption is wrong, but putting 2 and 2 together, you must be a support course student at UA, correct? Well, it's not the only thing I do. Support was trying to hold in a laugh. AFO could feel some sort of ominous headache coming on, like a warning sign. I'm also a vigilante. There it is. This is why I said what I said earlier. Onesie, me and support over here will teach you all about the wonders of vigilantism. We even got little Izuku on board. Child Izuku shot AFO a sunshine smile, but he could feel the mischief underneath it. What has Ninth done in the one day that he is away? He needed to lay down. Oh, stop. I know you want to hear our vigilante stories, Ninth said in a sing-songy tone. That's quite the delusion you've concocted in your head, Ninth. Regardless, if you in support decide to discuss your law-breaking ways in front of me, I will have no choice but to listen. Skillful convincing, AFO. What? Don't look at him like that. What good would come out of Ninth finding out he has a troublemaker mind? Very convincing. Onesie. Well, with that out of the way, I have a burning question for you, Ninth. Well, a couple actually. But firstly, why did you say you were a vigilante for a while? Support questioned. During my first year at UA we had this whole war with the League of Villains, and it got pretty out of hand. So eventually, I tried to take things into my own matters by leaving UA and saving people without a license, and to be fair, I still think it would have worked. But everyone else thought different, so they caught me when I was tired from fighting. UA, that's so cool. I'm so jealous of your quirk. I only became a vigilante because I thought I could never become a hero the normal way due to my quirklessness ... but I'm still saving people. And even better now with my support gear. Support said, okay, wait, my turn. Did you have any cool vigilante names? Mine was just my hero name, sadly. Ninth solemnly said, unfortunately I don't have anything of note in the name department either. I've had some cool ones before, like Viridian, Serpentine, Emerald, and Genie, but none of them have really stuck with me. I guess the anonymity is better though. Dear me, both of you are incredibly reckless, aren't you? Support with his self-deprecation and Ninth with his self-sacrifice. And I thought I was bad for temporarily becoming a vigilante despite my father. Ninth let out a big gasp. You were a vigilante. Oh my, you must be in need of a hearing aid. Ninth. I said no such thing. AFO had accidentally let that slip out. Oops, lies are hard to fabricate when you're caught red-handed, unfortunately. Come on, tell us what happened once AFO. Support and Ninth said in unison. Someone save him from these feral children, please. Okay, dinner's ready everyone. Inko said, finishing up in the kitchen and plating everything on the dining table. His saving grace, dinner time. No wait, they're just going to pester him more while they eat. God damn it. Okay, fine. If you won't tell us how your vigilante life was in your universe, we'll just have to make you a vigilante in this one too. Support declared. I'd like to see you try. Today was merely a series of unfortunate circumstances, is all. Don't worry, Oncey. We'll convince you somehow, And if we can't, we have the ultimate weapon, Child Izuku. Said ultimate weapon was currently slurping up his noodles, being the loudest at the dinner table. How endearing. No, don't fall for it, AFO. You are the convincer, not the convincee. Do you know Eraserhead, AFO? Support asked. I know of him. In my universe, he's the teacher of the famous Class 3A, so of course I know him. Well, if you didn't know, he's also an underground hero. In my universe, he always seems to catch me on my vigilante patrols. Honestly, I don't know how he hasn't caught me at UA, he's so perceptive. Support said, fondly. Was his empathy quirk broken? I see. But what does that have to do with me? AFO bluntly said. Well, all I'm saying, AFO, is if you ever do vigilante stuff again, try not to get caught by him. He's a crazy good quirkless fighter, and whatever your quirk is, if you even have one, it'll be cancelled out by his. Should you need it, I have analysis on all his weaknesses. That won't be necessary, Support, but thank you for the offer. I won't be performing vigilante activities though, not anytime soon. We'll see about that. Support ominously said. Aizawa, we need your help to track down this new vigilante. He can take away quirks or at least disable them for a time. We haven't really determined yet. But you're the best candidate since you can cancel it out. And at the very least, you're our most skilled quirkless fighter. Tsukachi told Aizawa, taking a debriefing at the Mustafu police station. That's Eraserhead when I'm in costume, Tsukachi. And anyways, why should I do this job? Rehabilitating or capturing a vigilante is better fit for a daylight hero. All it would cause for me is unnecessary media coverage. Aizawa fought back on this. He was too tired for some bullshit like tracking down a vigilante they hadn't even researched for a week. As much as I'd like to help you, Eraserhead, it's direct orders from the Public Hero Safety Commission. It's out of my hands. The Safety Commission is directly involved in this case. For whatever reason, they're pretty concerned about this vigilante. Tsukachi decided to leave out that he knew exactly why they were concerned. Much to Izuku's reluctance, the three other Izukus were sent back to their respective universes after dinner. Ninth had said something about staying in touch with their universes was important, which he guesses is right. But that didn't mean he wasn't sad about it. He had 3 new super cool friends. Everyone had to go home at some point though, so Izuku resolved to not keep them occupied in a different universe forever. That would probably make them angry with him, and he wouldn't want that. Although, that doesn't mean he can't portal them here when he wants to, since it's their choice to step through the portal or not. All is well if they consent to playing. After all, it's the next day anyways, fresh in the morning as well. It's time for another day of multiversal fun with his other selves. Once he finished school, that is. He didn't want to bore the other Izukus after all. Even Ninth looked a little bored after a couple hours yesterday. Support is awake. The reason this is bad is because, well, it's 4 a.m. In his defense, he spent a lot of time in the other universe which made him tired and had him fall asleep at 8 p.m. the day before. So if you think about it, he's really not at fault here. If you disregard the fact he went out being a vigilante the day before that one and got no sleep, it's a good thing he lives in an abandoned building. He doesn't have to worry about anyone catching him. Not like when Mom was around. It's actually kind of surprising that UA hasn't found out that the home on his file isn't his home anymore. or even interrogated him on why he doesn't have any emergency contact. At least he has his old home in another universe now. God, seeing Mom again was a surreal experience, even if she was younger than when he himself had last seen her. He's just glad he managed to bawl his eyes out in their bathroom without anyone catching him. Just stepping into that apartment for the first time in forever was like reopening his oldest wounds. Little Izuku even had all his old All Might merch. He threw away all his merch save for just a couple pieces. He doesn't really know why he did that. Maybe it was the memories it brought. Maybe he grew out of hero worship. Maybe it was both. Maybe he just didn't like All Might that much anymore. He didn't know. But there's no use dwelling on the past. After all, there's people to be saving that the heroes won't reach in time. That's where he comes in. Now he gets to do it in another universe as well. Double the saving. Speaking of which, Support wonders when little Izuku is going to summon Himaga. Greetings. AHHH. Support let out a blood-curdling screech and stumbled out of bed. Bedsheets following him in the process, making him disoriented. Goodness, quiet down would you? You wouldn't want to wake up anyone. AFO said, through the portal that was all of a sudden in Support's room. Don't worry, I live alone. He paused, a few words too late. A good oh shit feeling settled in on him. He didn't tell Ninth or AFO that yesterday. AFO darkened. You live alone, a first-year high schooler. Why was I not informed of this earlier? Well, I didn't want to trouble you, and it's not like you can do anything about it anyways. I see. However, why don't you live with Inko-san? Support was stunned at FO bringing up such a sensitive topic up so suddenly. Not that FO knew it was sensitive. My mom is, well, not alive anymore. AFO paused, then sighed. That makes two of us orphans, huh? He chuckled to himself, somewhat amused at the morbid similarity the two shared. It certainly does complicate your situation, doesn't it? Well, nothing to be done about it. Perhaps Ninth will be able to provide some insight on this. Chop chop now. Izuku can only hold one portal open at a time. You should totally get Aizawa-sensei to adopt you, Ninth said, dead serious as he settled in on the living room couch. They all moved to living area to lounge after breakfast. That's actually a decent idea. Eraserhead is quite famous in my world. He's well known for being a softie for children. AFO added. That's putting it lightly. Oncey. Ninth playfully nudged AFO. The man would lay down his life for anyone in my former class, really. I'm not getting adopted by the man who keeps trying to arrest me. Support sputtered out. Haha, well, maybe arrest is code for giving you food and shelter. If Ninth knew anything about Aizawa, it's that he wouldn't let a random 14-year-old rot in jail for mere vigilantism. Sure, next I'll walk right up to Principal Nezu and confess that I'm a vigilante, and have him transfer me to the hero course. Support shot back. Great idea, Ninth said, patting on Support's back, unaware of the teen vigilante's sarcastic tone. You know, one of these days I should come and visit your universe. I'll find a way to help out somehow. The hero in green said, pumping his fists into the air. Support groaned at the thought. The fact that Ninth probably had the power and charm to execute those plans perfectly frightened him more than it excited him. Well, in any case, we should get a move on. It's already 3 p.m. and Izuku summoned us to play. I believe this is a prime opportunity for bonding time. We've only known each other for a few days, after all, AFO said, ruffling Izuku's hair, who was swaying back and forth in his lap. I have the perfect idea then, Ninth exclaimed, shooting his fists into the air with stars in his eyes. I knew this place was dirty for years, but wow, it's just how I remembered it was when I was 14 or so. The memories, Ninth said, relishing in the nostalgia trip he was on as the group arrived on the dirty shores of Dagobah Beach. Your perfect idea for a leisurely excursion was to go to a trash-infested beach, AFO questioned, holding Izuku close to him so he doesn't get lost in the garbage. Oh, hush. This is the perfect grounds for hero training. We can mess around with Support's gear. And there's even a nice cat cafe near here where we can rest, Izuku explained. A cat cafe does sound nice. However, you do realize a trash dump like this is an unsafe environment for a child? Yes. Do you know how easily you could prick yourself with any of the rusty materials here and get an infection, a disease, even? AFO questioned, giving Ninth a disapproving look whilst raising an eyebrow. He was extremely concerned with Ninth's nonchalance behavior about this. It's finny. I can monitor Izuku, no problem. Ninth flashed AFO a dopey-looking sunshine smile. Perhaps I should do the chaperoning. AFO resigned to his position as Izuku watcher. Reaching a part of the beach that was relatively clear, AFO finally let go of the death grip he had on the back of Izuku's shirt, letting the child roam free. Ninth had explained to him that All Might had used this location to condition Ninth's body for one for all. In other words, it was a great way to work out. In AFO's words, it was a great way to test if Izuku has gotten his tetanus shots. He supposes All Might was acting on good intentions. But surely there must have been a safer way to go around the issue. Okay, Izuku, let's start your hero training, Ninth said enthusiastically, pointing to a small piece of garbage and telling Izuku to try and pick it up. Support tried pulling out some pieces of garbage himself, and Izuku attempted to mimic him. Both were struggling, because one was a 4-year-old who hasn't developed quite enough muscle tissue yet, and the other was a decently built teenager trying to move a rusty car with no wheels. With a hearty amount of effort from Izuku, sliding on the beach sand in the process, he managed to dislodge a small metal fold-up chair from a trash pile. However, he fell back from all the built-up force rubber banding onto him. Thankfully, the chair wasn't an integral part of the trash structure, and such a calamity was avoided. See, Ninth knew what he was doing. Of course, he still had to check on Izuku, just to make sure he didn't bruise anything. Judging from the giggling Izuku though, everything was peaky. AFO, deciding to back down seeing how Izuku was enjoying himself, tried to at least make it a more safe environment to train in. He sighed at the turn of events. Don't you at least have gloves so he can't cut himself? Oh, that's a good idea, actually. But my hero gloves are too big for little me's hands. Ninth sulked. I have some spare gloves at home. They might still be big, but they'll be fine. Support chimed in. He gave up on the car, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't try other heavy things as well. A pair of gloves would come in mighty handy for both him and his little counterpart. Hey Izuku, can you open a portal to my home? Just for a quick second, I'll get you some gloves. Support bent down to ask Izuku. Man, children were short. Izuku opened the portal for Support, and AFO couldn't help but feel a premonition that said Vigilante wouldn't just be coming back with a pair of comfy gloves. That teenager version of him practically radiated chaos. So he's really not sure what exactly he would bring out, but it probably would induce him with a migraine. At the same time, Ninth had felt his danger sense go off, but it wasn't a big threat like a villain. It would rag on his brain if it was a villain, but this was just a minor alert, like an alert for something harmless like a prank, if that made any sense. Curiously, it was coming from within the portal, so Support was probably bringing out. Oh dear. He really hopes his counterpart's inventions aren't anywhere near the level of combustible as a certain pink-haired former classmate. Come to think of it, he wonders if Support has met Hatsum yet. Now that was a terrifying thought. After a short delay of hearing some clunking from the portal and seeing Support run off to a place not within the portal's vision, Support came back to the beach. Lo and behold, he came out with a stack of random gadgets which Ninth and AFO both assumed to be support gear, with 2 pairs of leather gloves haphazardly put at the top of the stack. This garbage beach outing now felt a lot more dangerous than before. Hey Izuku, I got some toys for you to play with. Oh, and here's your gloves, Support said, setting down all the gear he brought and helping Izuku put on his spare set of vigilante gloves, which were indeed too big for his hands, but it was good enough fit. Meanwhile, Ninth decided to check out the support gear. He wanted to check that they were safe enough for a child, and maybe just satisfy the curiosity that was calling him to the gear. He was extremely worried because he was absolutely sure that Support was on the same level as Hatsum in terms of inventing, which means that there is definitely something explosive in there, intentional or not. But it also means that most of the gadgets were probably very useful. And honestly, he actually just wanted to see what his counterpart came up with. He's also looking out for Izuku though, so he is responsible. Take that, onesie. Oh hey, this looks like Aizawa's capture scarf, Ninth said, pulling out a scarf from the pile of gear clunk. Hey, Support finished putting on his own pair of gloves and turned to look at Ninth. That must be a prototype I developed for Shinsu. He came specifically to me to ask for a scarf like Eraser's. I felt so honored. He explained. Ninth held the object with awe. I've always wanted to learn how to use this thing when I saw Aizawa using it. He tried swinging it around on his neck. Although I guess it's not very practical when I have Black Whip now, One of the scarf's swings bounced back and ended up hitting Ninth right in the face. From there it was downhill. Trying to untangle himself from the mess just made it worse, making the support weapon bounce and flail in all different directions until he was tied up by the scarf. Ooh, how did this happen? Support was holding in a chuckle, but let out a smirk. Yeah, you need some serious practice with that thing to get it to work. AFO was watching from the sidelines, monitoring Izuku trying to dislodge another piece of garbage. It looked somewhat like a coat rack. Ninth really just lives on pure charisma and ideals. How baffling. He took a picture of Ninth wriggling around helplessly in the scarf. Nice. Izuku, now having given up on the coat rack, made his way to the pile of support gear, and after jumbling around the mess, pulled out a weird canister resembling a hairspray bottle. Unlike Ninth, AFO assumed Support didn't create extremely dangerous items, which was his first mistake. He didn't have any experience with the support course, so how was he supposed to know? He was the only one monitoring Izuku, and he had assumed it was probably something silly like a stink bomb. Curiosity killed the cat, some may say. But in this scenario, it's more like curiosity killed AFO's trust, because Izuku had sprayed what was in the canister, and out came a large burst of fire that directly concentrated onto AFO's face. Not that it did any physical damage, he was stronger than that, but it still damaged a few emotional nerves. Now, Izuku, that's dangerous, so let's put that down, okay. Izuku started sniffling, sad that he heard AFO with the weird kind of fire support gave him. SHH, it's okay. I'm okay, Izuku. See, AFO held Izuku's shoulders and flashed him the best smile he could manage, which was not much, but it seemed to work. And Izuku's sniffling devolved into giggles. Turning to support, who just finished untangling Ninth from the scarf, AFO darkened. Care to explain why a flamethrower was inside your little pile of toys? His comforting smile contorted into a villainous, intimidating one. I didn't know that was in there. Support stuttered out. He truly didn't. He just grabbed whatever he could find to make the trash beach outing a little more exciting. AFO clicked his tongue. This simply won't do. You need to return all these gadgets back to your world. Oh, okay. Support mumbled under his breath. Party pooper. What was that? And nothing. Support shot up. He took off to get Izuku to open up a portal so he could bring his stuff back home. Well, that's one headache taken care with. You guys, I got stuck again, Ninth said, tangled once again inside the capture scarf. This is going to be a long day, isn't it? After a long 2 hours on the beach, the tired group had moved to a more appropriate place to hang out at. A cat cafe. Izuku was really excited because he'd never really been around cats before. Apparently it wasn't around anymore in Ninth's world, so he was really excited too. The cafe seemed empty, which was honestly a blessing because a group of 4 of the same people with varying ages was probably going to draw a lot of attention. The barista had made an off comment about it while AFO paid the cover fee for the cats and ordered his coffee. But other than that, they were free to lounge. Come to think of it, he wonders if his money is actually valid in another universe. Oh well, worst case scenario, 2 of the same bills end up circulating. You sure you don't want any coffee, Ninth? AFO questioned. Izuku was too young for coffee and support went straight for the cats, which left the 2 legacy bearers at the register. Nah, I'm good. I don't really drink coffee. Too bitter for me. AFO was a bit taken aback. All of Ninth's energy and adrenaline was purely natural. His fear of the hero has skyrocketed astronomically. He hadn't noticed it before, but Ninth was giving him an amused look. What is it? Did Izuku burn something I didn't see with that flamethrower? He shouldn't have been affected by the fire because of a flame resistance quirk. But maybe. It's nothing. It's just, well, you look so normal compared to Support and me. I'm wearing my hero costume and Support is wearing part of his vigilante outfit. And you're just wearing a casual t-shirt with jeans. Ninth said. AFO hummed. Am I supposed to be playing dress up with you both? Don't be like that onesie. I'll help you design a hero costume one day. Ninth patted AFO on the back and walked to where Support and Izuku were. The former villain rolled his eyes and picked up his coffee, which was ready and waiting for him on the bar counter. He has no idea what he would do without caffeine keeping him going. Walking over to the cat area, he took in his surroundings and noticed there were around 14 cats to his disposal. He would befriend at least one of these before they went home. He could feel it in his veins. Unfortunately, the universe had different ideas for him. You see, another trait he inherited from his useless sperm donor is a lack of affinity for animals. Really, it was more of a negative affinity towards them. Without fail, any animal he walked up to would immediately scamper away from him, as if he was the king of the animal underworld. What exactly had his father done to get this kind of reaction to animals? And why did it rub off on him? One of many questions that will forever go unanswered to him. He couldn't even walk near a passerby's dog on the sidewalk without them barking senselessly or running away, tugging their owner along with them. So, when AFO had walked up to the table his counterparts were staying, he inevitably scared away the white cat that the 3 were playing with, jingle of its collar heard as it scurried off to another section of the cafe. Damn it, Iwa, you scared Cappuccino away, Ninth exclaimed. Guess even the cats are intimidated by you, huh? Support said. AFO responded with the hardest glare he could manage. Eep, I'm going to keep trying. Surely one of them must warm up to me, right? AFO was doubting his own words. He was right to doubt himself. Try as he did, all 14 cats had ran off in the other direction when he tried to pet them. Perhaps he had to go about this another way, strategically lure them in somehow. He could manipulate a human's mind to his will. He definitely could convince a cat to like him. This cannot be the objective he can't beat. It would wound his pride. He's quite jealous of Ninth, who seems to have the exact opposite effect on animals. It's like he's a Disney princess. All the cats had approached him on their own, without any prompting or enticing from Ninth or anything. Completely outrageous. He even saw some of the cats eating cat food out of Ninth's hands, super trusting and adorable. It's just not fair. Maybe if we approach a cat together, the effects cancel out, Ninth suggested. And so, Ninth and AFO had huddled together like conjoined twins and had approached an orange cat stealthily. As stealthy as you can get when you're bunched with another person whom you aren't coordinated with. Anyways, this is stupid. AFO whispered. Shut up. I think it's working. Ninth whispered back. The orange cat had approached the duo, paused, and then nuzzled against AFO's hand. Of course, AFO had almost let out a squeal out of pure excitement, but he had managed to conceal himself. Taking some cat food from Ninth, he offered it up to the cat, and it ate out of his palm. He had stars in his eyes. This was the best day he had in a while. Ninth, on the other hand, was delighted seeing a smile on Oncie's face that wasn't completely terrifying. Unfortunately, while they were enjoying themselves very much, the day had come to an end, and they had to head home before Inko got on their cases. As they got their last pets in and washed off their hands, the gang had almost finished preparing to leave. But, with a cruel twist of fate from the universe, a familiar face had walked in just before they left. Support was immediately alarmed. His vigilante instincts had kicked in, and you couldn't blame him for that because holy shit, Eraser had just walked in and AFO is a vigilante here. Shouta has been through many things. Traumatic things, somewhat traumatic things, you know. The whole heroics shebang. He's been friends and roommates with Hisashi for upwards of 8 years now, a traumatic experience on its own, which has definitely conditioned him into taking any negative experience quite well. That, or the speaker with banana hair has just made him go deaf to any annoyances in the world. But all in all, despite him being a pro hero with only a decent amount of years under his belt, he's seen and been through hell and back. Vigilantes, villains, Nimuri teasing for the umpteenth time, nothing truly gets deep under his skin. That isn't to say he doesn't get mad or annoyed from time to time. Everyone does, but it doesn't get to him. A logical take on everything keeps him grounded and on the objective at hand. An underground hero has to keep a cool head at all times, after all. Now though, it seems his streak of going about his hero career logically and unprovoked has come to an abrupt halt. A certain green-haired vigilante has jumbled all of his priorities up. He's never been so frustrated and confused. Who knew the best way to throw him off track was? Whatever the F just happened. Not that he minds, however. He believes in his morals over the hero system despite many calling him a stickler for the rules. If anything, at the very least, Hisashi and Nimuri know better than to call him that. They were both there with him at that tragedy, after all. Regardless, as he continues on this path though, he can't help but wonder a few things. 1. What the hell is going on? 2. Who the F is the new vigilante? What is their quirk, even? And finally, 3. Is this headache going to go away anytime soon? This is quite a conundrum, isn't it? AFO said, sitting with the other Izukus in a table off to the side, still visible but hard to see from the front bar. Not that it would help, they were the only people there. He might not have shown it, but he was just a tad worried on the inside. Eraserhead was a major player in taking down his father, and he's seen what the man can do. Absolutely terrifying. However, he can't see why they can't just walk past him. Was he truly that alert? Ninth and Support, however, had no qualms in showing their fear, the former breaking out in a sweat while twiddling his thumbs, and the latter looking around the corner every few seconds to make sure the scruffy man wasn't making his way towards them. At the very least, Izuku was blissfully unaware of his surroundings, and was occupied with a few cats who'd taken a liking to him. As much as I'd like to make fun of you for saying conundrum, you are very, very right. What the F do we do? Usually it'd just be your problem because you're the vigilante here, but we all look the same. He'll take us all, Support said. Are you sure we can't walk right past him? He's probably on low alert right now. He's in a literal cat cafe. AFO said. He really felt like the other two versions of him were overthinking this. With a stone-cold face and eyes burning a hole through his forehead, Ninth said Aizawa-sensei is never on high alert. Never. Don't make the same mistake I did. Support nodded his head in approval, while AFO sat dumbstruck at the two's paranoia. This must be an exaggeration. Why don't we get Izuku to portal us back home? Support said, glancing at the small version of himself who sent back a dopey smile before resuming his play with the colony of cats he's been assumed king of. No, Izuku's quirk doesn't work like that. It's only for summoning and re-entering universes. It can only open portals to the Izuku of that universe, or where they were before they left. And anyways, it's not like the portals are discreet. Aizawa is probably looking at us right now. A portal quirk isn't exactly the best idea, Ninth exclaimed, but whispering because he knows Aizawa can eavesdrop, even from all the way at the counter. The thing that neither Support nor Ninth had taken into account was that their Aizawas were more experienced than this one. The former's Eraserhead had 10 more years of experience, and the latter's had 20. Sure, this one was on alert, but not to the extent that the two thought he was. He was just there for floofy cats before a long day of work. Speaking of which, the group in the corner seemed to have 4 cats, or more specifically, the child was playing with 4 cats. He wasn't jealous. He was more concerned with monitoring the group. If staring at the group and wondering how a family's genetics could be that close together could be considered monitoring. Maybe the 2 adult-looking ones were twins. But how could you explain the teenager and the child? They were practically carbon copies. But enough about that. What caught his attention was that they all had green hair, which was a defining feature of one of the new vigilantes running about. If vigilante was even something to describe them, because so far it had been a one-time thing. Unfortunately, much to his dismay, the Hero Commission had placed the vigilante at a high priority, for whatever weird reasoning they had. It's most likely one of the two adult ones in the group, if it's even one of them at all. It definitely wasn't the toddler, but it would be illogical to simply go up and take them away for questioning. That would break the classic innocent until proven guilty code. Maybe he would check some city cameras to keep some tabs on them, or possibly even follow them on their trail for a bit after they left. Hopefully his suspicions aren't misplaced, or else it'd be a waste of time spying on civilians. The vigilante that Aizawa had been worrying about had been sneakily using a quirk on him. A quick check with an empathy quirk and AFO had confirmed that yes, support in 9th had been overestimating Eraserhead's awareness. If anything, he just felt more tired than any other emotion. He did sense some suspicion and alertness, however, so it would be smart to evacuate the premises as swiftly as possible. You two are being ridiculous. I'm leaving with Izuku, and you both can choose whether or not to come along, AFO said in a stern voice. He took Izuku's hand and walked towards the front door. Wah, but hey, 9th sputtered in protest. But it was too late, as the two were already going out the door. He spared a glance at Aizawa, who seemed to be doing his own thing with the cats, and decided he didn't want to be abandoned next to a younger version of his former mentor. So he rushed out the door to catch up to them. Fine, wait up. Support rushed after 9th, not wanting to be left alone with Eraserhead either. Although he could have sworn he saw Eraser make brief eye contact with him when he looked back. Here begins the real conundrum. The teenager-looking one had made eye contact with him. He looked nervous and broke away pretty fast. Maybe he shouldn't rule him out as a possible vigilante. Or maybe he's just awkward. Whatever the case is, he's been on the group's trail for around 10 minutes now. He left around 3 minutes after they had. He wishes he could have stayed longer. His break was cut short due to them. He managed to somewhat overhear their conversations from on top of buildings. The one in the green jumpsuit in particular was a loud talker. The cover of night helped him blend in and hear them better as well. It would have worked against him were it not for the trail of streetlights keeping the group in his sight. It's a good thing the Underground Hero rule set is a lot more lenient than the Daylight rule set, or else this would definitely be an extremely illegal tactic he is applying here. If it turns out he was trailing a group of lookalikes and there was no vigilante within them, this would be a very awkward situation. He can only hope the Hero Commission doesn't get on his ass for wasting time. The tall one in casual wear started speaking. Why over action ears arrest damn. He could barely hear anything from up here. Why did they have to be such a gentle speaker? He wanted to jump down, but should he risk getting closer? Shouta made his way down to an alleyway as light as a feather, deciding that the slight chance of intel was worth looking for. Not the most ideal situation, as he'd have to move alleyways every couple minutes to keep up, but it's workable. They haven't seemed to spot him yet anyways. Unfortunately, stealth doesn't make up for time, and he had missed whatever the casual tall one had said. The other tall one had started speaking instead. I'm just saying Owa Sensei is amazing. That's exactly why he's terrifying. Sensei. Perhaps the two tall ones were college students, or freakishly large high schoolers. It wouldn't be his first time seeing those. UA has some absolute units. The teen with a black hoodie, goggles on his head and a utility belt had responded even louder than the other speaker. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if was spying on us right now. That's lol really get you. Shouta was starting to get really confused. The teen knew the tall one's sensei, so maybe they are freakishly large high schoolers. But what was that part about spying? Does he need to investigate a school? Wait, focus on the objective at hand. His mind is still on Cat Cafe break mode. It's highly likely it could be a case of an actual suspicious teacher, but he can't help but feel like something else is up. Is it some kind of code talk? Is Sensei some kind of target or enemy? But then, that would imply that all three were up to something. Surely he didn't run into a triple vigilante problem, did he? That would be a mess he wouldn't have the energy to fix. Logically, it's improbable, so he won't entertain the thought. Who discusses law-breaking topics in front of a child relative anyways? That would be almost be asking for a leak. And by the way, if you see erase weakn says damn, he can't hear anything again. The group was too far away from the alley he was in. Why are they all such fast walkers? But what the hell are they talking about? All he could make out was the word weaknesses, and he's pretty sure he deluded himself into hearing eraser but that doesn't mean they were talking about him, surely. I'll wait. The casual tall one is speaking again. All due respect support. Did they just call the teenager support? Was that some kind of nickname? It had to be right. Were they a support gear developer or something? That would certainly explain the utility belt and goggles. He hopes his hunch of a vigilante being there is just a fluke, because he can't engage without endangering a child. Hell, all of them might be children. Not to mention, if they were openly speaking about him, they either had to be fans, or they all had to be vigilantes. That's a shitty thought. Before he could hear further, he had to make a move fast without them seeing him. But he couldn't go through the main path to the next alley, because if a single one turned around, the entire operation was a bust. Climbing back up to the roof and performing the same gymnastics as last time to get to the next alley was the safest option. So as fast as he could, he scaled the side of the building he was on, using balconies and any faults in the building to help him up. Then, just as quick, he jumped down to an alley a bit ahead of the path the group was going in. The group had simply walked away from Aizawa. He didn't even know that was an option, but here they are, blocks away from the cat cafe with no repercussions. Now he can really take in the nostalgic scenery. So many stores and buildings he had passed by as a kid that had been dormant in his memories. Stupid little things like the gas station mom used to go to that shut down around middle school, or the public playground set him and Kakin played hero at. Combine that with a night sky and some sad music he was imagining in his head, and the memories come flowing back to him. He hasn't even been to these parts Musutafu in his actual world in a few years. He moved away from his mom's apartment a while ago, much to her dismay, and he takes the same path to the apartment whenever he wants to visit. He's taken a detour to Auntie Mitsuki and Uncle Masaru like once. Apparently the trip down memory lane wasn't destined to last forever though, since the laughter of his three counterparts from some conversation they were having snapped him out of his trance. The future has a ton of new memories for them to make and reminisce on later too. And that won't happen if they get jumped on, his danger sense starting to tug on him, making Ninth a bit more wary of his surroundings. Nighttime isn't just nostalgia hour, it's crime time. Hey, let's pick up the pace, yeah, Ninth said, speed walking ahead of the group and gesturing them to follow along. What? The number one hero is afraid of getting jumped by some villains at night? AFO teased, while holding Izuku's hand as the group walked down the sidewalk on their way home. Technically he had a good point, but you never know, right? And no, you're just like a super slow walker onesie. Ninth blushed and defensively said, and, anyways, it's good to get home as early as possible during the night. And besides, what if Aizawa-sensei is following us? Goodness, why do you have such an overreaction to a racerhead? You do realize he has no grounds to just walk up and arrest you? Yes, I'm the only one who has broken the law here anyways. Well, caution is never bad. We all look the same. I'm just saying, Aizawa-sensei is amazing. His smarts and strength are crazy. That's exactly why he's terrifying. Ninth said defensively. Support, wanting to jump in on the conversation, said loudly, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a racer was spying on us right now. That's where he'll get ya. AFO rolled his eyes at that, but Support went onwards anyways. Oh, and by the way, if you ever see a racer, I should give you some of his weaknesses. Cutting in, AFO shot back. With all due respect, Support, I really don't believe I will be running into a racerhead that soon. As expert vigilante talking. It's always good to be prepared when it's a racer. He's a cunning man, you know. He tried tricking me into coming with him once by trying to let me stay at his apartment. AFO gave a weird look at that. Is a racerhead trying to adopt. Anyways, in terms of weaknesses, let's see. A racer has dry eye. He can only disable one target at a time. Oh, what else? Oh, Ninth chimed in. Don't rely on your quirk if you fight him. I don't really know how All for One and Erasure interact, but it disables all functionalities. Eraser helped take down my father, so it gave me some insight on his quirk. Man, he's still never going to get used to the fact that a version of him has All for One as a parental figure. Nevertheless, Ninth snapped out of his thoughts and said great. Well, I guess technically not great, but if you need any help fighting quirkless, Support and I can definitely... He paused. Support paused as well. His danger sense has gotten a lot more serious all of a sudden. But he didn't feel or hear a presence around at all, so where could they? Support gestured Ninth and AFO to huddle close together as they kept walking, the latter having to get Izuku to pick up the pace to catch up. Why did you both suddenly pow? Support put a finger on AFO's mouth to gesture shut the F up, dude. Whispering while trying to remain inconspicuous, Support said, I think Eraserhead is on our trail. AFO immediately shot Support an unimpressed look, while Ninth had a grim look on his face as if all his suspicions were confirmed. I was wondering why Danger Sense was going off. How can you be so sure it's Eraserhead? It could very well just be a villain nearby. AFO prodded. Look, when you deal with him long enough as a vigilante you just develop a sixth sense for this kind of stuff, okay? Support tried to explain. I hate that I believe that's something you would have. While the former villain and current vigilante were bickering, the hero was coming up with a plan. Okay, let's see. Here's what we do. As soon as we turn the next corner, you both grab onto me while I hold Izuku and I boost us near the apartment with one for all before Aizawa can realize what's going on. Got it. AFO clicked his tongue, but conceded. Fine, I'll oblige if it'll keep your conscience happy. Just try not to let the cameras see. Ninth let out a hum of approval, before scooping up Izuku from a reluctant onesie, and said, Hey Zuku, wanna see my quirk for reals? We're going to go super fast with it. Yeah, a ride with Ninth. Izuku let out a bunch of giggles. He was such an adorable little broccoli. The group had almost reached the corner, and AFO with a few of his enhancer quirks could hear someone on a roof jump down to an alleyway behind them. There was no alley in front of them anymore. Honestly, he felt the presence the entire time, but he left it alone because they didn't feel hostile. I suppose you have your chance now, Ninth. AFO reluctantly whispered. Well, everyone hold on then, okay. Support and AFO both held Ninth on opposite sides, and Izuku was snug within Ninth's arms. 3, 2, 1, and ... lift off. Shouta couldn't hear them at all anymore. When they turned the corner, it was as if someone had pressed a mute button. Maybe they just weren't feeling like having conversation anymore. Not like he could see their faces though, so how could he judge? Swish. A mild sound penetrated the silent night. If it was a crowded daytime, he could have very much missed it, but it was there. At first he thought it was just getting windy, but it sounded too different. It reminded him of the sounds All Might made whenever the idiotic media got close enough to him to pick up noise in the fight. The sound of abnormal agility, if he had to put it into words. Is there a villain in the area he has to take care of? Seems like he'll have to abandon ship on the potential vigilante for now. He has to keep his priorities in order. But before that, he might as well look at them one final time, seeing them off. So, he turned the corner, expecting the group to just still be walking down the corner, but instead he was met with nothing. Where in the F did they go? There's no more corner turns for a good number of blocks, but they just vanished. Did they take an alleyway shortcut? Hopping back up to the roof of a random building to scan the alleyways suggests no, they didn't. So then, did the vigilante steal a portal quirk? But then would the others in the group know they were a vigilante because it was a stolen quirk, or, wait, was that noise earlier the group making their escape? They must have had some sort of speed enhancer or even a general strength enhancer on them. That still begs the question of who had it. If the whole group were vigilantes, then it's possible that there was another lawbreaker alongside the vigilante they were after who had a strength enhancer. And then what about the child? Ugh, this is quickly becoming a lot more than Shouta bargained for. It already was more than he bargained for at the beginning, but this is bullshit. For now, he might as well report the whole thing at the police station and get on with his patrol. It would be a bit overkill to use a large percentage of power just to get home in one jump, so Ninth would use only a little bit of OFA and just do a couple of smaller jumps to travel. Plus, he's not really sure everyone would be able to hold on if he used that much power. Woo, Izuku said mid-jump, letting out sounds of amazement as he looked down at the city. The view was amazing from up here. He felt like a skyscraper. He could see all the streetlights and buildings. The cars looked like little fireflies. Why didn't Ninth do this earlier? Support said, enjoying the ride. This reminds him of when he goes patrolling as a vigilante. Although he doesn't have nearly this much agility, so it's a little less fun. Why does Ninth get to have these kind of views when he fights? He's so jealous. AFO yelped in pure fear as Ninth continued jumping. This was a horrific experience. Who knew he had a fear of heights out of all things? He could handle a villain's punch, even his father's glare, but this, he felt like he was going to puke. We're here, Ninth announced as he slowed to a stop, landing perfectly on the sidewalk and dropping off everyone. Izuku let out a bunch of giggles. Again. That was so fun. We should totally do that again sometime. Support said, still on a dopamine high. NRGH. AFO croaked out. Ninth let out a chuckle as he walked over to him. You good onesie, he said, as he patted the other adult's back. Never again, he said as he pulled himself up by Ninth's shoulders. Well, I'm beat. Let's all go to sleep, yeah. Support yawned as the group walked up towards their apartment door. The lights are off. Looks like Inko has already gone to bed, so we should be quiet. Hey, where do you think you're going? AFO caught Ninth trying to head to the guest room. It's my turn in the guest room. You get the couch. Ugh, fine. Ninth groaned out as Support already settled in on the couch. Izuku already went off to his room, so he's the only one who's really awake. Was everyone really that tired? As he watched AFO walk into the guest room, Ninth was formulating an idea in his mind to pass the time while everyone else sleeps. At first he was just going to scroll through his phone until daylight. But he had just thought of something super productive. After all, no one would notice if he slipped out and fought some crime, right? Keeping up with the Izukus. Scene 1. Okay, I think the camera is finally set up, Ninth said, fiddling with the camera stand until he finally got a good angle. So, to whoever is watching this, hello. So, the other Izukus and I decided to record ourselves while we're here to show off to people in our respective universes. Kinda like a reality show. We even have a camera here to vent to you. This going to be bad, isn't it? AFO groaned. Scene 2. Okay, should I introduce myself? Let's see here. I'm a pro hero. Number 1 in my universe, actually. Oh, and my name's Midoriya Izuku, like most of us. But my alias is Ninth, because I'm the 9th holder of one for a— wait, I shouldn't say thaw. Cut the cameras. See cut. Ninth yelled as support panicked and scurried to find the off button. Scene 3. I am Shigaraki Izuku. I bear the power of all for one. Yet I am the only sensible one here. AFO side-eyed Ninth, who let out an awkward chuckle and broke eye contact. Luckily, I can tell you that, as it's not a secret. Now to get this out of the way. Yes, I was a villain, but I've reformed, so please don't come after my head. AFO begged with his hands clasped together in a praying motion. He remembers the day Ninth's Bakugos had started screaming profanities at him the moment he found out he possessed all for one. He couldn't actually harm him, because they also found out that day that only Izukus could pass through the portals, but it was still annoying. He'd like to avoid a repeat of that. Scene 4. The camera starts the scene shakily out of focus, before it slowly gained clarity and stability to reveal Ninth and AFO at the cat cafe, once again huddling together in order for FO to be able to pet a cat. Support says from behind the camera, so cats only approach AFO when he balances out his bad mojo with Ninth's, but AFO wants to try and get them to like him without Ninth's help. This is their 10th try. Ninth and AFO walk up to the friendliest cat, and AFO begins to pet the black cat. The camera zoomed in on the collar, which read Lucky. AFO carefully brought up a handful of cat treats up to Lucky, who started eating out of his palm. While distracted, Ninth lets go of AFO and slowly backs away. Lucky looks up and notices that Ninth is gone, but continues to eat out of AFO's hand anyways. He started tearing up at this, and soon enough full-blown tears were rolling down his face. Lucky stopped eating and went to lick at AFO's tears. He started crying more. Hee, I'm happy for you, AFO. Support laughed from behind the camera, before hearing the door jingle and panning the camera to it, only to discover that one Shouta Aizawa had walked into the door. The video cuts off. Scene 4. Cunt. Ninth and Support's confessional. We need to stop going to that cafe, Support said, seated next to Ninth as they recorded their confessional in the guest bedroom. Agreed. Once has been taking it pretty hard ever since we had to jump out of the windows and leave Lucky behind. Ninth nodded in approval. Haha, did you see his face when he got Lucky to eat his treats without you being there? I'm so glad I caught that on camera. No, because he was so serious about it too. I'm just glad we didn't have to go through any more cats. That was so exhausting. Like, did you see? The two ended up talking in incoherent babbles about their second journey to the cat cafe, which the microphone couldn't pick up clearly. Scene 4. Cunt. AFO's confessional. Eraserhead will rue the day for ruining my first experience with an animal that wasn't absolutely repulsed by me. I swear, mark my words, you scruffy little old piece of— AFO aggressively said as he stood up and threateningly pointed at the camera. Whoa, calm down Oncey, Ninth said as tried to sit AFO back down, to little success. I'll kill youueraserrrr, AFO declared. NOOO, Ninth shouted. Was Oncey trying to give off a bad impression? Scene 4. Cunt. AFO's second confessional. AFO said, looking very unkempt compared to before, with his shirt looking roughed up and his hair more crazy than usual. He had a piece of paper in his hand which Ninth had handed him. I apologize for my actions. What I said was ... very wrong. AFO said without any sincerity behind his words. I won't be killing Eraserhead. Nor did I have any intention to when I said that, he stated clearly, while Ninth nodded his head in approval off camera. Now looking up and away from the paper, he added, however, I would like to propose a form of torture. God damn it, Oncey. Oi, wait up, Suku. A certain spiky-headed blonde was running behind a green-haired teen, making their way to class in the hallways of UA. Izuku giggled, quickening his pace and leaving Katsuki scrambling to match him. Try and catch up then, Slowpoke. He started taunting his childhood friend, skipping across the hall carefree while still outpacing him, before making it to the Class 1 door. The explosive teen caught up to Izuku, out of breath and gasping but not surprised. He's always been the faster runner, but why does it have to stay the same even through high school? How the hell ... if I can't even yell at you right now? Shit. Izuku had a bright, comforting smile on his face. Behind it, however, was complete sadistic bliss. He always loved messing with him. It was like prodding a sleeping bear with a stick. Bad idea, very fun. Letting out a laugh, he said, wanna know a secret, Kakin? My telekinesis lets me go faster if I use it on myself. At the mention of his quirk, Katsuki immediately sobered up. His fatigue quickly transformed into trademark Kakin fury, grabbing Izuku by the shoulders and shaking him violently. You damn cheater. I shoulda known, you effing shitface. I want a rematch right now. Ahem. Bakugo, I would appreciate if you stopped berating our friend in front of the classroom door. Are we interrupting? Todoroki said, appearing alongside Ida, Asui, and Uraraka, who were apparently walking right behind the childhood duo. Bakugo was currently holding Izuku's face very close to his. So close, in fact, that he mistakenly thought they walked into a kiss scene. Todoroki, it's really not. Izuku rushed to clear up the misunderstanding, sputtering out responses, a big contrast to his teasing personality just seconds ago. It was important to clear up though, kissing Kaken. Disregarding his thoughts on the matter, Kaken would probably burst out in explosions at the thought of them kissing. Except he didn't. Instead, to which Izuku presumed was because of his dramatic friend having a good day. Kaken just set down Izuku with a face surprisingly only 50% fury, 50% something he couldn't make out. Recollecting himself, Katsuki set his face to a stone-cold expression and said, just get inside already. He's so proud of Kaken for making it so far and calming the storm that is his anger issues. Maybe he'll finally get a calm Kaken in class. Katsuki stopped Izuku from going inside. Not you, dumbass. I'm getting that rematch right now. Nothing you can do about it. Katsuki said as if Izuku had no say in the matter. But, no buts. There's still 30 minutes until class starts. We have time, Katsuki said, with a fierce look in his eyes. This is when he breaks out his seriousness. Out of all times. The other four had went on inside, squeezing past the duo who were still partly in the way, however, not before giving their own insights on the imaginary relationship they had cooked up inside their brains. Uraraka passed by and simply gave him an encouraging thumbs up with both hands, which would have warmed his heart were it not in this context. Todoroki and Asui both passed by as well. He could see them share a glance with each other, before they both gave the childhood duo a look of pity. Maybe he could make out what it meant if he could just eavesdrop on what they are saying. Those idiots will never confess. Here I thought the other fire user in this class would apply his smarts for once, Todoroki said. Midoriya seems too focused on heroics to even realize his feelings. Ribbit, maybe he doesn't even know he has feelings. Asui responded. Uraraka joined in on the conversation. Can't you guys give them the benefit of the doubt? Maybe they really are just close friends. Todoroki and Asui both rejected with a resounding no. The last to enter was Ada, who before entering, immediately sprung into a lecture about restricting your PDA, much to Izuku's chagrin. For some reason though, or maybe he's just going delusional here, Kaken looked like he was actually listening to a lecture from Ada, pretty attentively too. Did he forget that class hasn't started yet and the class rep wasn't just starting a presentation he had to take notes on? Still though, as Ida finished his rant, he couldn't help but get lost in his thoughts. Kaken hadn't even refuted the wrong implications of what they were doing. He must be in a good mood for sure. So, like any best friend would do, Izuku was going to take full advantage of this by annoying the hell out of him. Letting out a laugh, Izuku told Katsuki, for a second I really thought you were gonna kiss me. Better luck next time, eh? Joking around of course because that has to be on Katsuki's top 10 worst nightmares. But it's not like he's going to let him live it down. So, following up his tease, he blew him a kiss with his hand, letting out a flame and forming it into the shape of a heart with his telekinesis. He discovered that trick a few weeks ago when he was training his fire telekinesis and he's gonna milk it for its worth. An embarrassed Katsuki responded by flipping him off, followed by a F off, dumbass, before dragging him presumably outside so they could race fairly this time. Another day was business as usual for the aspiring hero, and business as usual meant a happy, content life to him. Today would be great. So maybe he spoke too soon. Currently, right after Aizawa had taken roll call, a green portal formed in front of him. Immediately everyone was on high alert. UA decided to pump up the speed of battle readiness for everyone ever since the USJ incident. Not to mention a portal user was one of the main threats during the attack. Of course everyone would be on guard. Inside the portal was a small child who looked suspiciously like him. Aizawa, as always, the man to take action, had used his quirk on the kid. Instantaneously, the portal had disappeared as soon as it appeared, only for it to appear again once Aizawa's quirk could no longer reach the child. Izuku decided to get closer to try and figure out why the hell he's staring at a younger version of himself, but Aizawa and his classmates had stopped him. Don't get closer, Midoriya. It could be a trap, Aizawa warned. Well, what the hell do we do then? Izuku said. We have a portal in the middle of class with a child that looks or could be me inside. Don't be irrational. I taught you all to be more sensible before jumping straight into action. It could be an illusionary quirk. How could it be you? Quirks like time travel have never been recorded before. Aizawa shot back. The best course of action is to evacuate before villains start pouring out of that thing, and additionally, this thing isn't even a portal. I can't get through it. Katsuki said, reaching behind his desk to the portal in front of Izuku's, putting his hand up to the glowing knot portal, trying to get through, but his hand stopped and touched it as if it were just another wall. Aizawa deadpanned at Bakugos, readying himself to launch into a lecture about rationality before actions. Izuku promptly stuck his hand through the portal and went wide-eyed when his hand very much went through, unlike Kaken. What the F? For the second time this week, Support had woken up at 3 a.m. This time, however, it wasn't on purpose. Getting up from the really comfortable couch, he went towards the hallway where he heard the noises that woke him up. At first he thought Ninth went into the guest room to bug AFO, but upon getting closer, he noticed that the noise was actually coming from Izuku's room. Glancing back at the living room, he could see Ninth was still sleeping on the other couch anyways, so that old idea was trashed. Then, is there an intruder in Izuku's room? Not on Support's watch. Grabbing a pan from the kitchen, he tiptoed as quietly as possible into Izuku's room, making sure to hold the door in his perfected technique, which made sure it wouldn't. Oops. Hopefully he didn't wake anyone up with that. Taking a glance at what had happened, however, waking anyone up had quickly reached the bottom of his priority list. There was a portal next to Izuku's bed, which he could have sworn he just saw a hand retract from. Now, Support had heard of quirks accidentally going off when you're asleep, but with a quirk like Izuku's, what kind of person would Izuku summon in his sleep? Hopefully he isn't having a nightmare or something. The portal had noises coming out of it, and getting closer to the portal he had realized that the noises were actually voices. Voices he's heard before. They were talking quite loudly too, so how the hell is Izuku still asleep? Was he always such a deep sleeper? Did you guys hear that? Zero said, in the seat right next to Izuku's. Hey, hear what? Don't pull pranks in a situation like this, Zero. Mina scolded, on the opposite side of the room where she couldn't hear anything from the portal. No, I heard it too. It sounded like a door creaking open, Jiru said. Shoji nodded his head, saying I heard it as well. Out of one of his hands, Aizawa signaled them all to ready themselves to neutralize a villain if needed. But hopefully he won't have to resort to relying on his untrained students. Support, on the other hand, eavesdropping on the conversation, cursed himself for opening the door wrong. Well, no reason to hide away now. Oi, Eraser, can't you see there's a child trying to sleep? He said, setting down the pan on Izuku's desk, knowing there's no immediate threat. A pause was heard in all of the commotion the class was going through, before quickly roaring 3 times the volume when they saw who was on the other side of the portal. Hey, I just told you a child is sleeping. 2 other people in this house are too. Quiet the F down. The Izuku on the other side of the portal was freaked out, and so was the rest of the class, including Aizawa. Wha, is that me? The other Izuku yelled. Midoriya, get back from the portal? What if it's Toga? Aizawa said, trying to rationalize and ground himself in the situation. The other Izuku jumped back from the portal, heeding the warning, while Katsuki was staring thoughtfully at Support, very much not heeding the warning, getting closer to the portal to study him. Katsuki let out a noise as he was pondering. Okay, fine, use your quirk on me, Support challenged. And stop staring at me, Kaken. It's weird. He expected Katsuki to recoil and bark out from his request, just as he always does, the difficult teen that he is. But instead this Katsuki just complied without fighting back. He keeps forgetting that he's looking at an alternate universe and people are different. Thinking about it for too long gives him a headache. But could you blame him? Katsuki outlashing at him at the smallest inconveniences was one of his constants in life, even if it's starting to diminish now that they're building some semblance of a friendship in his world. In this world, that constant is gone. Or at the very least, not the same. Confirming that Support was indeed not Toga or any form of quirk-based shapeshifter, Aizawa felt conflicted. Unless you can justify why this portal is here, you are still labeled a threat by my authority. Support was starting to get irritated. It wasn't justified, because they were right to exercise caution, especially in a situation like this. But everything would be so much easier if they just went along like he did when Ninth summoned him. Actually, on second thought, he's really lucky they were giving him a chance, isn't he? Ugh, fine. But sit yourselves down because this is going to be a while. I suspected this, Katsuki said. What? You foresaw all of that? I didn't even retain half the stuff the other me said, Izuku said, stunned at Katsuki's genius. Just call me Support, other me. Support quickly added. No, not the whole thing, dumbass. It's just, I was thinking the other you was well, another you. Because if you look at him closely he actually looks different than you. That's why I didn't think he was Toga, Katsuki explained. Izuku looked like a lost puppy, so Katsuki continued. Okay, Zuku, take a look at Support's arm. He pointed to the counterpart in the portal, who didn't even realize his sleeves had rolled up a bit far in his sleep. You don't have scars like that, do you? Whoa, you're right. Where'd you get cool scars like that, Support? The other Izuku said. almost going through the portal, getting such a close look at his counterpart's arms. Stuff like hero training and support gear malfunctions. I'm sorry, did he just call you Zuku? Yes, yours doesn't, Izuku said, baffled. Kaken has been calling him Zuku since childhood. Even that can change. Support, shaken by any version of Katsuki calling any version of himself an affectionate nickname like that, continued forward. Well, anyways, if you're too paranoid that you don't want to join the fun, then it's your decisio. No, the other Izuku said, a little too excited. He thought it over and he really wanted to meet other versions of himself, although it might be a bit risky to trust so quickly. It sounds really fun. But didn't you say it was night over there? Yeah, but there's still stuff we can do, like, he's actually drawing a blank here. Everyone is sleeping right now, after all. He'd recommend going out on a vigilante patrol, but something tells him that wouldn't go well with a room full of heroes in training and a licensed hero. Something tells him ninth was a fluke. Wait, just get ninth. That's brilliant. Actually, hold on, let me get ninth. He's better at this whole convincing thing. Support decided. Ninth got him to join pretty easily, so maybe his charisma can infect this new Izuku too. Maybe he can come up with something for them to do as well. Telling the other Izuku to stay put, Support went back out into the living room where he saw Ninth sleeping on the couch perpendicular to the one he was sleeping on. Ninth, we have a newcomer Izuku again, so get up and help me because I'm so lost on what to do. Support's blood ran cold as he yanked the blanket off of Ninth. Oh shit, Support let out, as he realized what he thought was Ninth was actually just a collection of pillows spread across the couch, and a pair of shoes at the end which upon closer inspection are actually Mom's shoes. Well, what the F does he do now? Going back to the portal, Support said, change of plans. Ninth's gone missing, so I think the best course of action would do. Hey, someone's gone missing. Why didn't you say so? I'm coming in there to help. Hold on. The other Izuku said, shoving his desk out of the way and walking into the portal despite his classmates' cries of warning. Wow, I knew we all had a habit of being rash, but you really just waltzed in the second you heard someone was in danger. Support said, dumbfounded. Is this what he's like? This is what a racer has to deal with every day. Somehow he feels a bit of sympathy for the old man, really taking in his surroundings. The other Izuku felt amazed. Speaking in a low voice as to not wake up the child, he said, Yua, is this really another universe? This looks just like my room as a kid. Even the All Might merch he had as a kid was the same. The only thing missing would be the scorch marks that were left on the floor when he discovered his quirk for the first time. Looking behind him, he saw everyone in the class slow to a stop through the portal. That's so cool. They really did freeze in time. Then, the portal abruptly closed. SHH. The child is sleeping, Support said, the counterpart slapping his hand over his mouth like he was just told world-ending news. Just calm down, dummy. Izuku can reopen the portal when he wakes up. The other Izuku letting out a sigh of relief knowing he wasn't led into a trap. I was surprised when I first got here too. It was only a few days ago. You get used to the weird nostalgia. Support gestured Victini to follow him into the living room, where they wouldn't waking anyone up with their chatter. Oh, by the way, do you have any name you want to go by while you're here? We're all named Izuku, so we can't really ... Well, you know, Uo, how about my hero name? It's Victini, like the Pokemon. I thought it was neat since it's a fire, psychic type like my fire telekinesis quirk, and it's a symbol of victory and... Victini kept going on. Support, on the other hand, blanked out, more stuck on the fact that he has a quirk in the first place. Come on, is he the only damn Izuku without a quirk? I mean, maybe ninth counts, but he got one for all plopped into his lap. But this one had a fire telekinesis quirk like he was genetically supposed to if he didn't hit that unlucky 20%. You named yourself after a Pokemon. Most people won't get the reference, you know. Kaken said the same thing. But I can make it work, I'm sure of it. Support rolled his eyes at his fiery counterpart. It's not like he couldn't pull it off. He can already tell Victini has the charisma and power to hit the media without a good name. But still, a bit too nerdy, isn't it? Even for the Izuku standard. He'd say the optimism runs in their blood. Victini rivaling Ninth's sunshine smile. But AFO is a hard counter to that rule. Unless he's just a really weird exception, which he's willing to bet is true. Oh, by the way, you said there was another Izuku besides you, the kid in ninth, right? Should we get him before we go looking for ninth? Support knew ninth would be fine wherever he was, what with him being the #1 hero and all, but he wouldn't crush Victini's spirit now. It's something to do to bond with the newcomer after all. And he's also just bored. Nah, we should let him sleep. Support remembers AFO gasping for air while cursing out Ninth a few hours ago for attempting to murder him after they boosted home using Ninth's power. He had a really long day yesterday. But don't worry, you'll meet him later. He's a bit condescending at first, but he'll warm up to you. His name's... He paused. Should he tell Victini that one of the Izukus is literally named AFO? It's just an acronym, but if he knows it he'll freak out. unless he doesn't know who All for One is yet. The adult Izuku never told him what the abbreviation was, but he could infer what it meant. With the rumors of a quirk-stealing vigilante running around and AFO just being a weird name in general, it was pretty obvious to him. If he followed his timeline alongside the timelines AFO and Ninth told him, UA and the general public should know All for One by the Kamino Ward incident, which happens because of Katsuki's kidnapping at the training camp. That itself happening after the first semester. How far are you into the school year? Support said. I don't really remember ... We just finished our first hero internships if that's any help. Okay, first hero internships that should be ... The Hasu incident. The incident went different for all three of them. Ninth, Ida and Todoroki almost murdered Stain. AFO took care of Stain himself and turned him in. And as for himself, he was off on his own internship with Aizawa of all people, while Mirio saved Ida from Stain. As for the Nomas, well, everyone took care of them in all the universes. Anyways, that all happened way before they met AFO, so it should be fine to tell Victini. Hopefully some weird event didn't happen which made Victini know about him much farther in advance. It'd be much easier if AFO went by onesie to everyone, but alas. Support hummed thoughtfully. So how did the Hasu incident go? Almost murder anyone. Victini went pale. How did you? Haha, there's different versions of you here, remember? It's only natural we've experienced what you have. Support felt giddy inside, happy that his prediction was right. It was actually just a shot in the dark, but Victini didn't need to know that. Now what was I talking about before ... Yes, the other Izuku's name is AFO. AFO. Support felt a bit of suspense as Victini pondered the name. Like an acronym. It's a bit strange to call someone by pronouncing out 3 letters. Phew, he didn't know. Yes, well, that's how he'd like to be referred as. Though, you can't know what it stands for. Support said before Victini could ask the question. If you'd like to take all this in or look around, take your time. We'll look for Ninth when you're ready. Victini decided to look around just for a little while before they took off. Can't let the missing person wait, after all. But you can't help but satisfy your curiosity in this kind of situation, right? Honestly, nothing really seemed out of place, although everything was arranged how it was in his childhood, which hit him with a wave of nostalgia more than anything. If he looked closer, Victini found that there were a few cups or plates that were still around when in his world he accidentally broke them with his telekinesis going whack. The thing that stood out to him most, though, was that there were fewer photos in this apartment compared to his, specific photos to be exact. Hey, where's all the pictures of Dad? Victini asked. Support freezed. Do you ... You have pictures of your dad? Like Ninth in this world's Izuku, Mom and Dad divorced before he was born, and so naturally Inko had erased any sort of evidence his father had existed. They all had to grow up with one parent. Victini was completely oblivious to the other Izuku's circumstances, so he trekked onwards. His face lighting up at the mention of his father, he said, I do. He and Mom got divorced a while ago, but they're still super close friends. He only lives a couple blocks down in my universe, and Mom has lots of photos of them lying around. I wonder why it's not the same here. Victini, for a long time to come, would not connect the dots until pointed out to him. Having enough reminders that told him his life was sad, cold and unlucky, Support decided against answering Victini. It's ... Just don't worry about it, he said. Victini innocently head tilting in confusion. Let's just get going, yeah. Don't want to keep Ninth waiting now, do we? Perking up and storing the conversation for another time. Victini responded excitedly with a yeah. Let's go save myself. Running along the rooftops of Musutafu while wearing his bunny-eared mask, Ninth couldn't help but lose himself in his thoughts while he was patrolling. While he shouldn't be surprised, vigilante crime fighting during the dead of night wasn't that exhilarating. Now that he thinks about it, most of his fond vigilante memories were during the middle of an all-out war, so nothing's really happening in the era of peace All Might has set, not until later. He already made a note to Savory when she exists. Stuff like busting underground trafficking rings or illegal quirk booster distribution that underground heroes or vigilantes were known for are actually not that common. Not common enough just to stumble upon, anyways. At the very least, though, he can stop a few villains that are trying to work under the cover of darkness, and maybe break up a couple fights between some drunkards. He can safely say that being a limelight hero is more his jurisdiction. Although if Hagakure or Shinsu called him in for a spy mission, well, he can't resist that, can he? But either way, it's always a good idea to explore your options in the field, even if he isn't technically licensed to be doing that exploring in this universe. It's not always the funnest job, but at least he can take pride in knowing he saved a couple lives that weren't saved before in his world. It's actually a bit of a grim thought the more he thinks about it, but he knew that even the most powerful heroes he couldn't reach everyone in time. That Support's whole thing after all, helping those the heroes can't get to. Such a noble little vigilante. Also kind of concerning how much he knows about society to make a statement like that, but he can relate being a fellow quirkless buddy. former quirkless, technically. In hindsight, support would probably love doing this with him, but unfortunately Ninth was bored, and by the time he decided to leave, the crazy teen was still completely knocked out. It would be rude to wake him up. Maybe AFO would join them next time too, although he thinks that the other needs just a little bit more introduction to the idea to be more familiar with it. If Izuku summons another Izuku anytime soon, he hopes they'll like activities like this too. A quirkless hero version of himself would totally be down for vigilantism, right? Hold it, a gruffy voice said. Someone had managed to sneak up on Ninth while he was lost in his pondering. Ninth quickly turned around, almost falling off the building he was on from the lost momentum. But a scarf reached out to him and yanked him back up. Finally getting a chance to look at who tripped him up, he sobered up rather fast as he realized that Aizawa had found him. How did that happen? Was he so lost in his thoughts that he wasn't even paying attention to danger sense? He's not even too surprised that Aizawa could sneak up to him, especially when his clothes blend in with the darkness of night, but it's a matter of how it happened. He's supposed to be the #1 hero, but he let his guard down just because he's in a situation he hasn't fully adapted to yet. Don't be reckless, Aizawa said grumpily, before releasing Ninth from the scarf, giving him time to breathe out a sigh of relief. He got nightmare flashbacks from the time on the beach. We really need to start training heroes better. Good thing I became a teacher. He could hear Aizawa muttering under his breath. Hello, Aizawa, Eraserhead. What brings you to me? Ninth said, nervously hoping that the pro hero would leave. He wasn't watching him beat up villains, right? Please don't ask for his hero license. If Aizawa was shocked that he knew who he was, he didn't show it on his face. How do you? No, never mind that. Who are you? Are you a new hero? I haven't seen a debut of any heroes looking like you. He had ... Are you sure you didn't just miss it? Debuts can happen during work hours, you know. Ninth gulped apprehensively. He wasn't exactly the best liar in the world, if you couldn't tell. That's impossible, Aizawa said matter-of-factly, leaving no room for argument. Well, time for a different lie, then. I just didn't have a debut. I'm an underground hero. Aizawa took one look at Ninth's green jumpsuit. It wasn't bright, but it was a shade that definitely didn't help with camouflage. Not to mention the bright red shoes and utility belt. You don't look like an underground hero. You got a daylight hero costume on. Did you mess up your schedule or something? He questioned. You don't have to lie to save face. At this point Ninth was sweating bullets and was a nervous wreck, and Aizawa didn't have time for this mess. Just show me your hero license so I can confirm you aren't a vigilante. I've seen you fighting villains, so you can't run from this. Well, shit. He was monitoring him. Technically, he could show them his hero license, but would Aizawa really go out of his way to see if it has the authenticity seal when it's dated like 13 years in the future? No thank you, Ninth said. He bolted. He couldn't get away from Aizawa fast enough, so right now he is currently running away from a wild Eraserhead who is hot on his trail. His eyes are right on him. He can't use OFA like last time. Thankfully, his own Aizawa-sensei had added quirkless training to the UA curriculum during his second year, so in addition to his own copious amount of quirkless training, he just might be able to get away. Hopefully this Aizawa isn't as skilled as his. His Aizawa had 10 more years of experience under his belt. Surely this one wouldn't catch up to him as fast as his Aizawa did during training. Right. Ninth took an opportunity to go look behind him, and saw his teacher coming at him at full speed, red eyes signifying his quirk and all. He almost yelled in fear from the sight, honestly. Of course, this slowed him down, and Aizawa's scarf missed him by just an inch, barely grazing his shoulder. Okay, well, maybe he's not getting away. But he's not going down without a fight. As always, Ninth quickly cooked up a plan. He hopped down from the building he was onto an alleyway. He has to act really quick. He only has a small window of time where Aizawa's eyes aren't on him. Using OFA to boost himself down, he readied his fingers, waiting to see a glimpse of Aizawa and then Delaware Smash, Air Force. With a flick of empowered fingers, the gust of air sent Aizawa flying back, looking like a ragdoll as he fell back onto the roof with a loud thump. Oh god, he didn't use too much force, did he? He hurt Aizawa. He thought he would just dodge out of the way and he would have to follow up with fighting him hand to hand, especially since he only used 30%, but he jumped back up to the roof, worry overloading his rational thoughts. Aizawa-sensei, are you okay? Wait, there's no one on this rooftop. Where did? He heard a sharp movement, and danger sense suddenly started blaring at him. It was too late though, because by the time he could respond, danger sense had fallen silent and his vision was obscured by a well-known white fabric. Man, he hated the scarf. Amek, watching over the Izukus. Alright, so since we all don't get to be in the same room very often, I wanted to show you guys a little something, Ninth said in a cheery voice to the room filled with Class 1A heroes as well as All Might and Aizawa. The gang keeps in touch with each other and meets up at least once a month, and the two teachers help plan the events. This month they were all gathered in Kaken's luxury penthouse. because of course he's going to spend all his hero money on something fancy. Who wouldn't? Everyone was situated in his comfy living room. I know some of you have already caught me going into portals and all that, and you're all super frustrated that I won't give you answers, but today is the day you get your answers, my friends. Hey, portals? What is he talking about? Ochako asked. Shoto answered. You might not have known since your schedule doesn't pair you up with Izuku that often, but he keeps disappearing into these portals and comes back out immediately, looking like he lived through a whole day. Exactamundo, right there, Shoto. So, if you would all direct your attention to Kaken's needlessly large TV where I've already set this up, the answers will unfold in front of you. Just as he said that, Ninth clicked a button on the remote in his hands and scurried off. Everyone was a bit confused, but nonetheless they all got situated for whatever shenanigans Izuku was getting them into this time. Before the video started playing, it paused, and Ninth came back panting. One second. Phew. Okay, so small context. I got summoned to a different universe by a version of me with a cool quirk. When I get summoned, time pauses here and I meet a bunch of different versions of myself. Okay, bye. He zoomed off, this time with the added flair of using OFA, probably so they wouldn't be able to catch them. So there they were, flabbergasted, and a video playing on a huge TV. After fiddling with the camera, you could see Izuku on screen after it focused. Okay, I think the camera is finally set up. Is he filming something? When did he have time for that? Doesn't he have the busiest calendar out of us all? Denki said, exasperated that Izuku could fit even more shit into his schedule. Goodness, how is that possible? I can't manage my schedule and all I have is commercial and modeling work on top of heroics. Momo said, I can't imagine attending all those hero events and doing all those interviews on top of it. So, to whoever is watching this, hello. So, the other Izukus and I decided to record ourselves while we're here to show off to people in our respective universes. Kinda like a reality show. We even have a camera here to vent to you. Looks like he's enjoying himself. Jiru said, Munch, we're just going to skip over the fact, Munch, that he's causing trouble with Munch even more problem children. Aizawa said, stuffing his face with a cake Satu had baked for the gathering, trying to eat the stress away. Just be glad it won't be you dealing with it, Aizawa. All Might said, patting the scruffy man's back. This going to be bad, isn't it? The camera panned over to another Izuku, crossing his arms at Ninth. Whoa, the other Izuku looks so different even though they have the same face, Mina said, pointing out the differing scars and general stance. Bro, he's just as hot. Siro said what everyone else was thinking. People let out noises of agreement. Okay, should I introduce myself? Let's see here. I'm a pro hero, #1 in my universe actually. Oh, and my name's Midoriya Izuku, like most of us, But my alias is Ninth, because I'm the 9th holder of one for a— wait, I shouldn't say thaw, cut the cameras. See, cut. All Might's sweat dropped. So did everyone else in the room. Hopefully Izuku cuts this out for the other worlds that see this. Wait, so does this mean the other Izukus don't have one for all? Ochako wondered. It got the others to think about it as well, wondering if he would still get into UA and meet them all. All Might couldn't believe a world where Izuku wasn't his successor. But if he hadn't met him that day, then he would have just chosen Mirio, wouldn't he have? The scene changed, and a different Izuku was on screen instead. I am Shigaraki Izuku. I bear the power of all for one. Yet I am the only sensible one here. A pause. And then chaos. The whole room bursted into a combination of yells, confused looks, and overall something Aizawa wouldn't want to deal with. Thankfully, Aizawa is part of this chaos this time. Katsuki glared at the screen, clicking his tongue in dismissal. He had already met this Izuku, after all. He probably knew more than anyone else just because he's in a part-time hero duo with the Shitner. Wah, but Izuku doesn't what? How is that possible? How could he become Shigaraki? Ochako tried to rationalize. Shinsu, late addition to the Wanna crew, said with absolute seriousness, I can fix him. He could just tell that version of Izuku would treat him right. He knows that one had an emo phase like him. Luckily, I can tell you that, as it's not a secret. Unlike someone else. He glared at someone off-screen, with a faint awkward chuckle in the background of the audio. All Might felt himself starting to faint, knowing that a version of his successor, his totally not child, held the power of his arch-nemesis. He had the personality of him too, just as cynical. Hopefully not as evil. Now to get this out of the way, yes, I was a villain, but I've reformed, so please don't come after my head. He clasped his hands together. Dumbass probably got scared after I threatened him the first time I saw him. Katsuki said, proudly. But Midabro is a villain. That's just the thought is unmanly. Idru said, well, there's your unmanly thoughts manifested, ribbit. Suyu said, jabbing at the crimson head. The scene changed again, into a cat cafe with their Izuku and the all-for-one Izuku hugging together approaching a cat. They saw about one frame of it, before it paused. Everyone looked around to find the remote. only to find Izuku off to the side, muttering a ... shit. He wanted to save the cat cafe bit for after Aizawa left, as he didn't want him to see AFO swear murder on his name. But now that Aizawa has seen the cat cafe that he used to frequent before his schedule changed, something tells him it's going to be a bit harder to convince him to leave. Midoriya. Aizawa stepped towards him, a glint in his eyes, and did he activate his quirk? Why did he see his eyes flash red? Pause the video. And oh thank you. And so once again, he bolted. Izuku is awake. He knows it's still late, considering the digital clock on his desk reads 3:15 a.m. But he doesn't really know why he woke up. He thinks he felt the apartment slightly shake, which only happens when someone closes the door, so maybe someone was going out. But at this time, whatever the reason was, it wasn't his main concern. It's still a school day, so mom would probably be mad that he's up at this hour. But then rises another problem. He can't sleep right after he woke up. That's just not how sleep works. He's completely refreshed and full of energy right now, and he has nothing to channel all of it into. Maybe he could watch just a few All Might videos to fall asleep. No, he doesn't want mom to catch him. Then she'd assume he was up all night. But then, what can he do? Maybe the older hymns can help, now that he remembered that they're still here. They've been alive longer. Maybe they also have times like this and know how to deal with it. But he'd feel rude waking them up ... And what if they'll be disappointed like mom? No. He can't be thinking about that right now. He needs to be well rested for school tomorrow, or else Kakin and the others will draw on his face if he falls asleep during class. Throwing his blanket off and scrambling out of bed, Izuku resolved to gently wake up one of his older selves so they can help him sleep. Stepping through his already open door, he made it to the living room, to which he discovered that no one was there. Where did everyone go? Did he send them back yesterday and he just didn't remember? He remembers the apartment slightly shaking, which was probably someone closing the door and leaving, but they all left. To where? Maybe they were going out to do cool hero stuff and they couldn't take him because he was a burden. Hold on, they still have a guest room. It can only hold one person, and he doubts the 3 versions of himself would even try to squeeze into the same bed. But maybe there's still someone left. Trying to quietly open the door and failing, he saw AFO, not sleeping, but scrolling through his phone. AFO was quick to notice Izuku, although the door squeaking wasn't much help to the child's case. Putting his phone down, he let out a bunch of concerned questions. Izuku, what are you doing up so late? Are you okay? Did you have a nightmare? Izuku was a bit overwhelmed with the questions. I am okay. I just woke up and now I can't sleep again, but why are you awake? He was a bit embarrassed. He couldn't tell Izuku that he had sleeping problems when he came to him for help to sleep. Not to mention it would set a bad example if he found out he was awake the whole night. Trying to change the subject, he said you can't fall back asleep? Yes. Izuku nodded his head. He really wished he had some sort of sleep quirk on hand, but he didn't. They'd have to solve this the old-fashioned way. Well, let's try some warm milk, and... He sighed, hoping it won't come to this because it'd be embarrassing to him even if no one would hear it besides Izuku. If that doesn't work, I'll sing you a lullaby. It worked well for him as a kid. It's a bit unfortunate that he's using his abusive father's methods to put another child version of himself to sleep. But even more unfortunately, his father had good parental tactics for smaller things like this. He likes to think in another universe. There's a version of his father that gave up villainy to focus on his family. Maybe Izuku could summon an Izuku who's lived a life like that. Both a fun and terrifying thought for him. Walking out into the kitchen while holding Izuku's hand, AFO started to prepare the milk, grabbing a random cup from a cupboard and the milk he bought the other day from the fridge. He let his eyes wander to the empty living room, and he thought to himself absent-mindedly. He heard a little bit of chatter while he was in his room, although he didn't eavesdrop on them to give Ninth and support some privacy. At least, he thought it was Ninth talking, but who knew he had such a high-pitched morning voice? He's not worried about the pair. They left on their own accord and they could handle themselves, but he couldn't help but be curious. As AFO placed the milk into the microwave, Izuku looked up at the much taller version of him with his doe eyes and asked a question that both of them were asking themselves. Do you, know where Ninth and support went? I'm worried about them and it's super late. Don't worry about them, Izuku. They can handle themselves just fine. AFO reassured, but Izuku's face still looked constrained. You'll see them tomorrow, okay? They're both strong, just like you'll be, even if they're a little ... rash sometimes. Promise. I promise. AFO stopped the microwave right before it hit 0 to prevent any noise to disturb Inko, and handed the warm milk to Izuku as they walked over to the child's room. Thank you, an AFO. He tried hard to enunciate every part of the acronym. It was a weird name that he couldn't voice well. I really hope Mom doesn't find out I'm awake right now, so I really want this to work. Well now, don't say that silly. You'll jinx it. He smiled, before he paused. ... And you don't have to call me AFO. He knew being referred to as an acronym was a dumb idea, even if it was the logical decision to go with overall for one. But it just doesn't sound good when Izuku struggles to make it roll off the tongue. Not to mention a child saying it amplifies how stupid it sounds. He had one solution to this problem. He doesn't wish for the nickname to spread. But if it's Izuku saying it, then surely it's okay. Just call me Oncey, like Ninth does. Izuku's eyes widened. Are you sure? I thought you said only Ninth is allowed to. Well, him and now you, Izuku. It's okay with me. AFO flashed a rare genuine smile to Izuku, who smiled back. I actually think it's quite a cute nickname. Ah, but don't tell Ninth that, okay? The little one nodded in response as he drank the warm milk, sitting up in his bed. Here, lay down. I'll take that cup from you. Feeling drowsy yet? AFO asked, laying Izuku down and pulling the covers to his neck. Only a little, Izuku admitted. Well, seems like you'll need a bit more assistance, then. He started to gently glide his hand through Izuku's hair, repeating the calming motion to settle the little one in for his next attempt to make him fall asleep. He closed his eyes. He didn't want to do this, but just for Izuku he cleared his throat, chose the least cringy lullaby he knew, and began to hum in a soothing voice. The world is imperfect. I'll make it not for you. Say out your wants, no matter what or who. I'll bring all you need, and whatever you please, for the world will be perfect for you. Izuku's eyes started to flutter, but he wasn't asleep. So, AFO continued to brush his hair as he sang. What the world wants, or what they will say. If you don't like it, they won't have their way. I'll shape the world, and take down your foes. All for you, darling. My sweetheart, my rose. There was one more verse of the dumb lullaby he chose. Izuku's eyes were closed, but AFO could tell his pupils were still moving under his eyelids. So, with reluctance he sang out the full lullaby. For you I'll give, and cater to your cause. I'll break any boundary, any rules or laws. For the world is imperfect, my dear. But for you, my love, you'll live life with no fear. AFO opened his eyes ... and slowly let out a sigh of relief. My, out cold, just from that. He chuckled to himself, then let out a rather large yawn. It seems the lullaby had gotten to him too. It was originally his father's lullaby after all, so he supposes it's only natural for it to trigger the response it did when he himself was a child. Ah, I'm glad the others aren't awake to make fun of me for that. He's just happy he remembered one of his father's more calming lullabies that weren't disguised anti-hero propaganda. Even the one he sang has disturbing undertones when you realize an underground crime lord was singing it, but it's still one of the better ones. Now, in retrospect, he could have sang something more simple like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but he has to admit his father had came up with brilliant lullabies to make people sleepy, even if it was a little abnormal, lacking in taste, not actually good. Taking one last look at his younger, happier self, he stepped out of the child's bedroom and back into the living room, just to confirm once again that his other selves are gone. He still couldn't sleep, so he decided to call Ninth to find out where he and the younger one had gone. A few seconds after hearing his phone ring in his ear, he heard a vibrating noise coming from the coffee table near the couch, and approaching it showed a bright screen lighting up with the text Oncey on it, with the options to pick up or decline. Ninth left his phone here. Goodness, what an idiot. If only he added support to his contacts. Well, that's about all he can do at the moment. Maybe he should head out and look for them. Bah, the idiots can handle themselves. If they wanted his help, they should have brought him along. On the upside, however, he's finally feeling a bit sleepy, so maybe he can get a few hours of shut-eye after all. He'll be energized to lecture the two idiots when they return in the morning. Support and Victini had set out for Ninth's rescue. However, the latter was the only one concerned for the missing Izuku's safety. The former was more using this as an excuse to go on his vigilante patrol with someone. Usually he'd run into one or two criminals during his patrol which he'd be able to apprehend and turn in, but for the most part the night had been quiet. This adds to Support's theory that Ninth had snuck out to crime fight, considering there's no more wrongdoers left for him to fight. He couldn't leave anyone for him. Actually, scratch that. Why didn't he just take him with him in the first place? Stupid Ninth and his consideration of his sleep schedule. Who ... It's so cold out here. Why did I have to wear your extra clothes? Victini said, donning a thin shirt and pants. He would have much rather preferred keeping his warm UA uniform on. Just use your quirk to warm up. It's fine if you burn the clothes a little. Support said, UA uniforms draw attention. It's the most prestigious hero school in Japan. People might realize you aren't an actual student in this universe. This is what most of their time out looked like. Nothing was really eventful, save for Victini tripping over a few buildings, so it was mostly just them making conversation more than a vigilante patrol. It was actually pretty calming, but he still wished that something would happen. Where are the villains? Wait, what just passed by? It was so swift he almost missed it, but there was a flash of black and green in his peripheral vision. Could luck be in his favor today? A villain to stop and save a life that wouldn't be saved otherwise. Hold it, support. Victini called out. What is it? You can't just go down there. the fiery boy said, stopping the other teen from jumping off the building they were on. I feel like we're already breaking some kind of trespassing law being on all of these roofs. Some of these buildings are residential areas, you know. Victini sounded a bit desperate and tired. He wasn't used to running on rooftops for hours on end. After all, he wasn't a vigilante. He had less experience. And your point is? Support sounded confused. My point is that you can't just be chasing after people all willy-nilly. If that's truly a villain, then we should take cautionary steps and call the police and heroes so we don't break any laws. Nah, what if the heroes are too late to save them by that point? Hero response time averages 11 minutes. It usually doesn't take 11 minutes either. Someone can get shot in less than 11 seconds. That doesn't mean anything. Support waved his hand in the air, as if to physically brush off Victini's claims to pair with his verbal brush. The other tried to combat that point, but he continued. Anyways, even if it's part of heroic conduct to be timely, it's not an enforced rule, nor is it reliable. Haven't you heard of the case of that quirkless woman who bled out because the heroes took an hour to get to her? He flailed his arms in the air to exaggerate his point. The police got there in less than 5, but they aren't equipped to deal with higher intensity situations these days. Funds being moved to heroes and training going downhill and all that jazz. Victini was dumbfounded. That happened. I had never even heard of something like that. An hour. How could the heroes take so long, especially when there are so many agencies spread out there? Maybe it didn't happen in your world, but something similar probably did. They're just covered up by the media to paint the heroes in a better light. I only found out about it because I browse a lot of quirkless forums online. Victini felt sick. How much had he been lied to about heroes? At one final attempt to assert his crumbling opinion, he said, even so, it's still vigilantism. So you're saying you would rather not break the law than save someone's life? Victini sighed in exhaustion, giving up the argument, while Support had a stupid smug smirk on his face. Just don't engage first, or else it will get you into a lot more legal trouble than it's worth. Oh, don't worry. Most vigilante laws don't apply to me due to quirklessness loopholes, Support said cheerfully. Victini gave his counterpart a questioning look. You do know that there are other laws that you'll be breaking besides those, right? Support tilted his head in confusion. Oh, just never mind. Grab onto me. I can propel us forward with my telekinesis. It takes less power if we're closer together. Well, that's definitely not a villain, Victini said, much to Support's disappointment. They decided to spy on who they saw earlier after they finally caught up. It turns out it was 2 people they were tailing, except one of them was unconscious, and the other one was the pro-hero that one of them is deathly afraid of for all the wrong reason. Currently, they're watching him walk into the police station while they're hiding. Who knew Aizawa-sensei used to patrol around my area? Looks like he just brought a criminal into the police station, although that criminal looks vaguely familiar to me. Move over, I can't see anything. Support got a chance to survey the situation better. Aw man, there's really no villain. And it's Eraserhead as well. We better turn back before he notices. Wait. He did a double take on the criminal in Eraser's hands. Oh my god, of course he looks familiar to you. That's us, dimwit. He whisper-berated Victini. Hey, so that's the missing Izuku. He got arrested. Well, that's certainly what it looks like. Be quiet for a second. I'm going to try and hear what they're saying. How are you going to eavesdrop from all the way over here? I have a handy little gadget on me. Support had a somewhat crazed look in his eyes, as he pulled out what looked to be a hearing aid from his pocket. Upon closer inspection, it looked to have some modifications to it. It was a bit more clunky than normal earpieces. Not in the Support course for nothing. Now be quiet when I put this on because it's extremely sensitive. Support tinkered with the earpiece in his hands, and put it on. He could now hear just far enough into the police station, although he might not be able to catch it all even with the gadget. Is it working? Oh, Support yanked his earpiece out. Every word that just came out of the other felt like 20 gunshots. No, 20 cannon shots, like gunpowder was directly poured into his right ear and a match was lit inside. Thankfully, he didn't make the thing too strong, or else he might have gone deaf right then and there, clutching his one ear which was still ringing quite loudly. He quickly turned around to give his fiery counterpart a glare. Victini, what the F did I just say? I'm sorry. I thought it'd be okay if I was whispering. Victini quickly broke eye contact with Support's glare and nervously looked off to the side, a dejected expression clearly on his face. Support, on the other hand, quickly backpedaled. He didn't mean to outlash that harshly. No, it's fine. It's partly my fault anyways. There's a reason I don't use this junk more often. He reassured Victini with a small pat on the back. The young tinkerer had to fall back and lean on the smooth, stony wall of the building they were hiding behind, as he patiently waited for the ringing to go away. He couldn't wait for long, or else he'd miss any talking Eraser was doing inside. He ushered away Victina's apologizes, who was profusely apologizing the entire time he was waiting, and eventually he had enough. Despite there still being ringing in his ear, he decided to start the eavesdropping anyway. He gave a warning to Victini beforehand, however. Don't move a muscle. He put the earpiece back on and resumed spying on Eraser. Sorry, Eraserhead. We wanted to send a police car to you, but everyone's been dispatched and we've been so understaffed lately. Someone was talking to Eraser in the police unit. If he is hearing right, it's Officer Sansa. He's usually the one at the front anyways. It's fine. Do we have an open interrogation room? Oh, and is Tsukachi here? He'll probably want to be there too. Aizawa said. Yes and yes. In fact, let me ring him over right now. He could hear clicking noises, most likely Sansa using the old station handphone keypad. But why are you in such a hurry to question him? Who did you capture? Support could hear Aizawa set down ninth, probably on the waiting chairs they had set up in the front. He was talking to Sansa as the other was on the phone with the detective. This might be the new Quirk-stealing vigilante. The commission has been on our ass for him. But it could also just be someone who at the very least knows them. They look alike. Probably related, at least. Whatever the case is, they're a vigilante themselves, and they have valuable info. Sansa let out a whistle at that. Sounds like you got a lot on your hands. He set down the handphone and turned to face the other. Tsukachi's in interrogation room C, so you can head over there now. Thanks. Support pulled out the hearing aid. Ugh, I can't believe Ninth got captured by Eraser. Number one hero my ass. So, what's happening? Victini questioned. Ninth's being taken in for questioning. I have no clue what to do. Arg, why did he have to go out in the first place? Victini felt a little pity for Support's frustrations. Maybe they'll let him go after they're done. The teen vigilante couldn't take a chance like that. His resolve had already decided. I'm going in there to help. What? That's such a rash decision. You're just going to turn yourself into the cops just so you can help him. Do you have any sort of self-preservation? Do you think they'll even let you be with the other Izuku? Victini scolded. Support brushed off Victina's worries. It's fine. I've been in police captivity before. I'm sure I can think of something. If you have a better idea, I'm all ears. Okay, fine. I guess that's really heroic of you, even if it's a bit self-sacrificial ... But am I supposed to do nothing? Then I can't go in after you. What do you mean? Obviously, you're coming with me. No way. I can't. Wait, let go of me. Support took Victini by the arm and they both walked into the police station. He knew he shouldn't have been so reckless, but here he is, deep within police captivity, face to face with the one person he can't lie to, which restricts what he can voice without revealing the absolute mess of a situation he is right now. It doesn't help that they took off his mask and saw his face. Right next to Tsukachi is the man who caught him and put him in this situation in the first place. One of few who can overwhelm him in a quirkless fight, and the person he completely let his guard down around. His bleeding heart once again placed him in another crappy situation. He doesn't regret it though. In fact, if anything, he was relieved to see that Aizawa was okay. Even if he only saw him because he informed him that he was being forced into questioning. He might be relieved, but that still doesn't change the fact that if he didn't have these quirk suppression cuffs on, he would have bolted to the door a long time ago. If you could cooperate with us, we'd be happy to sort out a situation for you that doesn't end in your arrest, Tsukachi said, hands folded on the interrogation table. If he didn't know the two men questioning him on a personal level, he would have been very suspicious of them. Even now, he's still a bit suspicious, but it's not like he's in a position to act on it. That's quite assuring given the hospitality you've provided. He might be happy to see these two since he never gets to talk with them anymore. But doesn't this infringe on some kind of right? I promise, your capture will not reflect future interactions with the Force. You are a formidable opponent, according to Eraserhead, and that is all. Aizawa had been quite surprised when he bested the vigilante quite swiftly. He's confident from his initial analysis of the scarred adult that they were an experienced fighter, and well-equipped with their strange quirk. He hadn't thought the sympathy fake-out would work. And if it didn't, he could have lost the fight, considering he was a confident opponent against the villains he was capturing yet ran away at the sight of him. Perhaps he caught him off guard. Ninth remained silent, so Tsukachi started off immediately. They took care of basic introductions, protocol questions like age, name, etc. He answered them quickly and truthfully. He knows they won't be able to find him on any databases, but Tsukachi knows he was telling the truth. Unfortunately, the last protocol question was one he forgot to account for. Quirk, Tsukachi asked, speeding things along and ready to ask the actual questions he and Aizawa had prepared. Ninth froze. He had to be more serious about this. There were so many secrets he could let loose with a lie detector around, and his quirk was only one example. He needed to be crafty with his wording. It's, a form of super strength. Specific name. He always admired Tsukachi for being a thorough detective, but right now he wishes the man would loosen up. The official name on file is superpower. It is the truth since he couldn't put one for all on official documents. So hopefully Tsukachi doesn't notice the strange phrasing. Aizawa had thought that this Midoriya had been lying, but Tsukachi didn't give him any signs of the vigilante doing so. His quirk had just been a variation of super strength. Then, was the smoke screen, black rope, and literal floating supposed to be support gear? Even science has its limitations. Maybe it was some sort of weird mutation. He didn't speak up about it, since the vigilante was telling the truth, and instead told Tsukachi to note it down for later. So the detective finished writing down all the basic info he had on him, and Aizawa started off the actual questioning. How long have you been active as a vigilante? You looked experienced when I observed you. Well, no use trying to avoid this situation now. Technically, I'm not a vigilante. I'm really a hero. That's my stuff on the table, right? You should have my license. Aizawa scoffed. That license couldn't have looked more fake. It was dated years into the future. Tsukachi, on the other hand, looked confused. No, he's telling the truth. Maybe the vigilante had altered memory. His quirk did only tell him what the person thought was true, after all. If he was truly in contact with the quirk stealer, it would make some semblance of sense. But what kind of person would this Midoriya be if AFO went out of his way to alter his memory? Are you saying you're a time traveler? You realize that's a bit. Ninth pondered the question for a bit before realizing. Yeah, that's basically the situation he's in. Give or take a universe or two. In a way, yes, he sighed. This is why I didn't show it to you in the first place. Not a very believable story, is it? Let's come back to that another time, Tsukachi said, concerned and intrigued by the person in front of him. While unlikely it's true, even with his quirk telling him it's the truth, he has his doubts. The amount of intel they could get from a hero in the future was a potential gold mine. What's your relation to the new quirk-stealing vigilante? Now here we go. He has to be really careful around this question, or else he'll reveal too much for them to handle, and they'll put him in a psych ward because they'll assume he's insane. No one would believe him if he said he knew a version of himself from a different timeline. Right. He's, a friend of mine, yeah. We only met a couple days ago, but I feel like we're growing close. Aizawa looked skeptical, even though Tsukachi confirmed it was truthful. Just a couple of days ago. No, scratch that, just friends? Are you sure? I'm not sure what you mean, Eraserhead. I ran into you at a cafe earlier, yes. Was the quirk-stealing vigilante among the group you were in? Yes, and you're not blood-related in any way. I would have assumed you were quadruplets if there weren't obvious age gaps. Well, not necessarily, I think. Tsukachi spoke this time. A simple yes or no will suffice, Midoriya. He needed concrete answers so no loopholes would get through. Still, someone as young as him related to All For One. Did he have children? Was the quirk stealer not All For One, but a child of his? It's just a really complicated situation. I can only assume based on what info I have. We have plenty of time for you to explain. I can promise you we've dealt with our fair share of complications. Tsukachi was cut off by a knock on the door. Tsukachi, I don't mean to interrupt, but neither you or Eraserhead were answering your cells. Sansa's muffled voice came through the closed door. Sansa, we're in the middle of an interrogation. Tsukachi was a bit peeved that he was interrupted right when they were getting interesting info. Yes, about that. There's 2 kids outside who seems to be asking for someone with the same description of the vigilante you just took in. They look just like him, albeit a bit younger, so I thought to inform you, since Eraser said something about lookalikes. All 3 people in the cold room perked up, Tsukachi and Aizawa because it meant they were about to get more intel, and Ninth because, what? Was it support? How did he get here? Wait, he's a vigilante. One with a bad sleep schedule to boot. He must have seen that he was gone and went looking for him. Now he really wished he just brought support in the first place. Maybe support would have saved him from Aizawa and he wouldn't be in this mess in the first place? No. That's bad. Ninth, you are the adult in this situation, the strongest hero in this situation. You need to be better at protecting others. But who was the second one? Surely it wasn't Izuku, right? Sansa would probably describe him specifically as a child. But it couldn't be Once either since he looks the same age as him. Did Izuku summon another him? They might have to set restrictions on his quirk for the time being. Bring them in. Grab 2 extra chairs as well, Tsukachi said. Ninth was rapidly spiraling, but managed to maintain a calm exterior. He was incredibly nervous for how this spontaneous double interrogation would go. It's not like he can just whisper what to say to support. Can he rely on support's own interactions with the police on this? But there's so many kinks they have to work out, lest the police find out more important details than they need to. Not to mention he doesn't even know who the other version of himself is. The info has to get out eventually, but they had to keep a low profile right now. They've only had a couple days to settle into a whole new universe. They can't blow their cover immediately. He has to come up with a plan of SAP, and he knows he can figure out something because he's not a tactician, analyst, and the effing #1 hero for nothing. But there's just not enough time and the situation is more high pressure than it should be in. Fancy seeing you here, support casually said to Ninth, walking into the room holding a chair while Sansa closed the door behind him. Hello, Victini said, sitting down while stepping quite hard on support's foot. He didn't want to be here at all, and he feels really uncomfortable with the strange look Aizawa was giving him. It offset him even more because he looked so much younger than his teacher. The other Izuku sent a pleasant smile to Victini to acknowledge his presence, and he just nodded in response. Meeting someone for the first time during a police interrogation wasn't the best look. It's worse when one of them was wearing Quirk suppression cuffs. You really weren't kidding when you said they were practically identical, Sukachi whispered to Aizawa, staring at the green dynamic duo in front of them. I didn't see that second one in the cat cafe, the one without a hoodie, Aizawa said. God, it was already a headache to keep track of 4 of them. Sukachi patted Aizawa on the back. All right, well, this is a bit of an impromptu meeting, but can you two introduce yourself and explain why you came here? Support is quickly realizing that he, in fact, does not have a game plan, and he definitely should have heeded Victina's warnings. Looking at the way Ninth is melting in his chair right now, he definitely should have heeded Victina's warnings. And it's not like he can form a plan with Ninth when he's right in front of 2 of the biggest threats of the police department. Okay, whatever, he just needs to start slow or something. Be rational. Well, I noticed that this idiot was gone when I woke up an hour ago, and it turns out he left his phone at the house, so I took my friend and went out to look for him. We ended up spotting him being, escorted into the police station, and now we're here. It sums everything up pretty well. Of course, omitting the attempted vigilantism. In hindsight, it's probably for the best that they didn't run into any villains. Sukachi finished jotting down his thoughts. Okay, that's fine. Could I have both your names? Izuku Midoriya, Victini and Support said at the same time. Sukachi's Quirk said they were truthful. You're all named Izuku Midoriya. I did tell you it was a complicated situation. Ninth shrugged. Sukachi sighed. I don't suppose either of you have quirks that can steal others, do you? I'm quirkless. Support responded immediately. He knew Sukachi didn't discriminate. Most of the police force didn't. Although the chances get higher the farther up the chain you get. I have fire telekinesis. Victini responded. Ninth turned his head at that. A version of him who actually got a quirk. He supposes it makes sense. Once he got his quirk genetically after all, but he was a special case. This was the him he so desperately wanted to be back in middle school when he yearned for a quirk. How different was life compared to him? How happy was he? How far has he progressed with his quirk? How was the dynamic in Aldera? I thought so. So, going off of Eraserhead's account, the other one around your age at the cafe, he pointed to Ninth, is the one with the quirk-stealing quirk? Yes. I doubt a child could beat up that man from a few days ago. Yes, that's correct, Ninth said. This situation has evolved far beyond what Sukachi expected, and he is quickly realizing this all cannot be solved in one night. Okay, well okay. I'll be keeping you all here for just a little bit more, but I'd like to reassure you 3 that we won't be making any arrests today, and depending on the situation of the quirk stealer, we won't have to arrest anyone. Although the Hero Commission will probably fight that with full power. Even he's a bit reluctant to hear the quirk stealer out, but he can't be discriminatory just because they have a similar quirk to him. That soothed everyone's nerves quite well, and Ninth almost turned into a puddle of goop with how much he relaxed his tense muscle. Now, let's continue with the questioning, shall we? Amek, watching over the Izuku's part 2. About a measly few minutes later, Ninth gave up and came walking back with Aizawa to the group. Unpause the video, Midoriya, and stay here, Aizawa said. Who okay Ninth said, defeated. With a press of a button, the TV started to play again. The camera starts the scene shakily out of focus, before it cleared up to reveal Ninth and AFO at the cat cafe, huddling together in order for FO to be able to pet a cat. What the F am I looking at? Katsuki said, befuddled at the situation. Is this really what you're up to in another universe? Izuku, not saving the world or something? Ribbit? Suyu asked. In my defense, I'm working on it, okay. Ninth raised his hands up in defense. Midoriya, listen to me very carefully, okay? I need you to send me pictures of all those cats. I have not been in that cafe for years, Aizawa said. So, cats only approach AFO when he balances out his bad mojo with Ninth's. But AFO wants to try and get them to like him without Ninth's help. This is their 10th try. You think the actual all-for-one was a cat repellent too? Hagakure asked the room. He was an everything repellent, young Hagakure, Toshinori said. The former class all chuckled at that. Wait, who's talking behind the camera? Denki said. Izuku responded. Oh, that's Support. He's a quirkless UA student in the Support course. Doesn't sound self-sacrificial enough to be you, Shinsu dryly said. And he's also a vigilante. And there it is. Ninth and AFO walk up a black cat, and AFO begins to pet it. The camera zoomed in on the collar, which read Lucky. The friendliest cat in the cafe. Aizawa was reminiscing. AFO carefully brought up a handful of cat treats up to Lucky, who started eating out of his palm. Ninth lets go of FO and slowly backs away. Lucky looks up and notices that Ninth is gone, but continues to eat out of AFO's hand anyways. He started tearing up at this, and soon enough full-blown tears were rolling down his face. Lucky licks at AFO's tears, which makes him cry even more. Oh, that's so cute. Mina cooed at the screen. Well, that's certainly much more like the young Midoriya I know, Toshinori said. He felt comforted that the other Izuku did not share all his tendencies with the infamous villain. Hee, I'm happy for you, AFO. The cafe door jingled, and the camera panned to it, only to discover that one Shouta Aizawa had walked into the door. Oshi, the video cuts off. All you had to go and ruin things, sensei. Mina whined. Huh, why'd they even run from me? Aizawa questioned. Funny story, AFO is kinda a wanted vigilante. I mean, he's only captured one villain over there, but he's on the high priority list for some reason. Aizawa sighed. Dear Lord Kid, do any of you have respect for the law? But still, sounds about right for you. The scene changed into Support and Ninth sitting side by side looking at the camera. We need to stop going to that cafe, Support said. Agreed. Oncey has been taking it pretty hard ever since we had to jump out of the windows and leave Lucky behind. Ninth said. No, Midoriya. The pictures. Aizawa protested. Haha, did you see his face when he got Lucky to eat his treats without you being there? I'm so glad I caught that on camera. No, because he was so serious about it too. I'm just glad we didn't have to go through any more cats. That was so exhausting. Like, did you see? Let me turn up the volume. Ninth fiddled with the remote. How tired I was by the 5th cat. And poor Oncey was in shambles. I can't believe you went through 10 cats. 10? We almost ran out of cats to test. Never in my many years have I thought of shortening all for one into Oncey. Now I'm a bit sad. I can't use such a perfect demeaning name on a corpse. Toshinori said. Hey, it was supposed to be endearing. Oncey likes it, Ninth said. The scene changed again, to the same room but only one chair was present, with AFO sitting. Eraserhead will rue the day for ruining my first experience with an animal that wasn't absolutely repulsed by me. I swear, mark my words, you scruffy little old pisa. Valid reaction, Shinsu said. Wah, Hitoshi, Ninth said. What? I'd be pissed if someone barged in on cat time too. I concur, Aizawa said. Not you too, sensei, Ninth cried out. Whoa, calm down, Oncey. I'll kill youerasserrrr. Okay, well, maybe that's a bit much, Aizawa said sarcastically. Oh goodness, I'm seeing the all-for-one parallels again. Toshinori started feeling dizzy again. I promise he usually isn't like this. Ninth laughed awkwardly. Quite past magnifique, Aoyama said. The scene slightly changed to a more disheveled AFO sitting down. Goodness, what happened? Momo said, concerned. I had to keep him from doing God knows what to the camera. He was really angry. Ninth said, I won't be killing Eraserhead. Nor did I have any intention to when I said that. This is worse than Tenya trying to say he didn't want to kill Stain. Shoto said. That was quite uncalled for, Shoto. Ida exclaimed. I still can't believe it took you 2 years after graduation to tell us about the real incident. Achako said. I apologize for my actions. What I said was ... very wrong. I guess we finally found a worse liar than Izuku. It's Izuku, Zero said, shooting up Jazz hands. I'll kill you, Ninth said, with complete seriousness. However, I would like to propose a form of torture. He's not being serious, is he, young Midoriya? Toshinori suddenly felt quite concerned that his successor was hanging out with a disguised all-for-one. No, mostly, Ninth said. That did not comfort Toshinori at all. Ninth stood up and turned the TV off. Welp, that's all for now. But the second episode is in production. That was definitely something, Ajiro said, leaning back on the couch. Kuda next to him nodded. He was especially intrigued by the other Izuku being so bad with cats, considering when he introduced his pets to Izuku it was almost like a scene from a Disney princess movie. Is this your way of making that hero reality TV show you oh so desperately wanted when you were younger? Katsuki teased. Kakin, I told you not to tell anyone about embarrassing childhood details anymore. Ninth shrieked. Katsuki stuck out his middle finger and his tongue. He said in a taunting voice, blah, eat shit. One for all, full cowling, 200. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification. So when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.